officer and all-around swell guy, Benoit Beauséjour. We usually take a bit longer. Last time we took 3 hours. The time before that, it was close to 3 hours. It was maybe 2.5 hours. This time we're clocking in at about 2 hours because we have meetings that we have to go to at about 2 hours. So, yeah. I'm running out of gas. What else do I do in the intro?
아니 방송 안 하려고 그랬는데 오늘 라이브였어.
Oh, I got to introduce the person. So, I've mentioned this person in Benoit Beauséjour a few times. So let's go ahead and meet Benoit Beauséjour. Benoit?
Hi.
Hi.
I have to say I'm impressed with your pronunciation.
It's been like 12 years now.
No, but it keeps getting better. Every time it's better.
I practice privately.
There you go. I know. Thank you, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Tell everybody who you are.
I'm Benoit Beauséjour. You want me to say it again? Or no? Okay, good.
I'm
the Chief Technology Officer at CIG, so I guess the best way to describe it is if it has a computer chip in it, I'm kind of involved in a way. So I run the engineering teams, Star Engine Group, and I meddle with all areas of the game, trying to get us forward to our 1.0 release.
금요일이었구나.
Yeah.
네, 전혀
My blood sugar is weird or something. I can't see with my glasses. I'm seeing better without my glasses, so we're going to take off my glasses.
이 친구가
그러니까
일반 기업으로 치면 얘 말고요. 방금 방송하는 친구가 고노아라고
on these shows. On these special tech talk shows,
CTO예요. Chief Technology Officer인데 그 중에서도 서버 메싱 만드는 팀에 있는 리더입니다. 그래서 되게 중요한 파트를 맡고 있는 사람이죠. 이 사람 라이브는 보려고 오늘 무슨 얘기할지
needs to be afforded the opportunity to check in with other directors and get updates on what they're doing and everything, so that we can provide you the most up-to-date and accurate information. So this will be a show that's less about taking questions from the chat or from the community and more about just a very candid conversation about the current state of the game, the development, where we've been, where we are, where we're going, that stuff like that. So I've divided the show up at this point into sort of three things. I'd switch teams for Benoit.
자, 채팅창에 스쿼드론 42 릴리즈 데이트 알려달라.
No, that wasn't chat.
크라케 2026라고 적어야겠다.
That's not appropriate. So we're going to start the show with updates to existing endeavors. So this is the third one of these we've done. We've talked about a couple of things. So I'm going to update on a few of these topics that we've been covering through this before the second section where we get into some new things that we haven't discussed. So let's start with the biggest one, which is server meshing. We're now a year on. We talked about it ad nauseum leading up to this thing. It's now been out a year. This is probably the last time we're going to talk about it for a while again until Dynamic comes, and we're not going to put any dates on that. So let's put the story of server meshing. Let's put a button on the story of server meshing. And I'll break it down into 4 sections. How's it gone? How's this last year been?
Well, so like if I recap, like almost same date last year.
Almost, yeah.
Was when we actually launched 4.0 and server meshing actually went to the live environment. And so it's kind of the 1 year anniversary of the tech being available for all players. It's been surprisingly solid. I like to say that this way because it's a very large system, but it has given us just good foundation for what we had to do last year in terms of the content drive that we pushed forward, the performance improvements that we wanted to deploy. It was like we were expecting a lot more turbulence with the release of server meshing than we've had in a year. It's been a very, very stable system overall. And so I would say, like, if I look back at the year, obviously there's always problems, with new technologies, but the server meshing itself has been very, very, very solid for us.
Okay. So in the, quite frankly, years leading up to it, talking about it, it began to get this mythology that it was going to be this silver bullet, that it was going to be this one-stop fix that was going to fix so many issues. It didn't fix every issue in the world. It was never going to fix every issue. But I want to talk about what it has enabled for us in this last year. So what are some of the benefits that we can draw a direct line from server meshing that we've experienced in the last year?
Well, like if you walk back to the StarCitizen experience before 4.0, so before server meshing got introduced, you know, a server crashing, that was the end of your session, right? You would lose your ship, you would lose your cargo, everything would disappear. You'd have to reconnect, restart the client, start over. Right? I mean, anybody who's lived through the first years of development of the project know how intense this was. Right? So the first thing that server meshing brought us is server recovery. And so because of the fact that the replication is separated from the simulation, when a game server crashes, which is where most of the crash risk exists, well, the state of the replication is still good. So we just tell you, hey, we're getting another server, you stay there, and when it comes back, we can recover exactly where you were. You don't lose your ship, you don't lose your cargo, you don't lose your materials. And I think that's been a very, very big, it's a kind of the unsung hero feature of server meshing. It helps with, you know, engagement, playing longer sessions, finishing missions. And so for me, that's like one of the big pluses that was brought in with server meshing. On top of that, and we did have some crash isolation, to be clear, in 3.24 and before, right? But what server meshing really brings also on top of that is crash isolation. So if a server is in charge of the Crusader area and he's the one running into issues, then only that area is affected. And so the player who's, you know, bounty hunting in Pyro or something like that, he's completely safe from this crash. And that just, the perceived stability has increased a lot based on that. On top of all the work we've done to prevent servers from crashing in the first place, but just this whole setup has made the game a lot more stable in that sense. So that's just the kind of meat and potatoes of what meshing has brought us. But the key bit it brought us also is much larger player counts. And so we used to be limited to 100 players per server, which had the whole universe to simulate. Now we've got a series of servers simulating the universe. And so we oscillate between caps of 600, 700, 800. We're still experimenting going higher with this, depending on multiple factors. That cap changes for the moment. But just the fact of having more players in the same shard means you can have an event where 200 people show up at one area. Surprisingly enough, we've also discovered things through this, that sometimes game servers actually perform better with more players in one area than one server simulating the whole universe would, because he has less entities streamed in, and now it's all about updating the components in that area. So we've seen certain events, you know, because players always find a way to, you know, organize something that's should be a problem, but there was a 400-player party in one of the bars on New Babbage, and we looked at the server performance through that, and it was actually very, very decent. And so we expected the full meltdown, but it was actually good. And so that enables that experience, right? Obviously, there's a million other problems to solve for this to be a really good experience, but from a server meshing point of view, that was a big win.
You've got a 500-player meetup coming. I just saw something.
I know. It's like that becomes a kind of common thing, and we love it because that's exactly what the tech is meant to enable. And then obviously the two other things that meshing has brought us this year is 2 new solar systems. Yep. And so for years we've been stuck in Stanton, expanding the Stanton system, more POIs, more planets, more things, and now suddenly we were able to branch into Pyro, which was everybody at CIG was really looking forward to that. It was like internal tension at when are we going to launch this thing? I've been working on this for a long time. And so that was really a relief to be able to get, you know, players to cross the jump gate, so the jump gate technology obviously comes with meshing, and so expanding into 2 systems in 1 year.
Being able to add Pyro in January. You know, the tech preview was December the year before, but it went live in January, and then next goes live in November. Yes. Same year. It's this the most common question. You know, we've been doing this for a long time now. Here. Forget other places. Yes. We've been doing it just here for a long time. And one of the most common persistent questions is about the pace of development, and you know people have been waiting very long for certain things, justifiably so. And we've we've always maintained that its development kind of works on it builds. Yeah. It builds and it builds, and you get more efficient after you build the tools, after you build the foundations, stuff like this. It gets more efficient. You can do more later on. This year, because of server meshing, we were able to kick out 2-star systems, and we're still expanding on NICs. Every patch this year will expand NICs even more. It's the one in March is looking to expand a bunch of the service stations and our first big content drop, which I'll go ahead and say right now.
뭐 이런 거 나오면서 작년에 어떤 일이 있었는지에 대해서
what was it called? Citizen Direct. Yeah. Me and names. You can learn more about that, but we're currently working towards that as our March release, and then on and on, just continuing to build out NICs until I think in the Road to 1.0 presentation it says around 2 years ago now, well, a year and a half ago, Rich Tywer acknowledged that Castra would be our next system whenever that comes online. So it's just this technology
it's unlocked the capabilities to do what
we can actually start to deliver so many of these things that we've been talking about and working on behind the scenes. Instancing has some role in that.
자기들이 많은 것 이제
출시하고 있다. There's one more thing that server meshing brought us that's not to be
서버 meshing으로 인해서
a very substantial gain of performance on the game servers in general. So like 324 game servers were running, we had a very low bar for acceptance on FPS for game servers because we just had to deal with so much. Nowadays, like server FPS is magnitudes higher. So that actually allowed some of the content we've already produced actually shine because it was working properly. And so that's because servers have less to simulate. We can optimize their workload. We've also reduced we've talked about this before, but we've reduced the size of the game servers because they just have to simulate one area. And so overall, meshing has improved server performance by big magnitudes.
Yep. Yes, Chet, no, my head is not smaller. My hair is just bigger. It was very windy and rainy today, and it's just whatever. No, I haven't had a dye job. It's grayer than it's ever been. No, we are not taking questions from chat, but I will comment on every one of you commenting on my appearance.
채팅에서 제라도 메모가 뭐라 하는 애가 있어가지고.
So that's static server meshing. We know the next big stage of server meshing is dynamic. What can you tell us, if anything, about that?
Well, so the dynamism in the mesh, dynamism, I guess. So we're running out of words internally to define what the next step of server meshing is. Currently, we're working on quasi-dynamic server meshing, which is we're trying to iterate on the static mesh.
다이내믹 서버 메시 전 단계 같은 거.
So that if an area is empty, right, and nobody's there, we can spin down a server. And if people go to that area, we can spin up a server. To achieve all this, all of the mechanics required for a full dynamic mesh need to be there. So like mass authority transfer between servers, because when a server goes out,
특정 지역에 유저가 아예 없으면 그 서버는 아예 꺼져 있다가
it needs to give that to another one, and that obviously you don't want that process to lock up the mass.
쉬운 의미로 그런 식의
so that whole mechanism is what we're working on at the moment. In fact, we've done over the break, the team has actually reached a milestone. We were able to run with our internal testers a test of quasi-dynamic server meshing internally, so that's good. I mean, it's the first test, so it's a bit rough, but it basically requested, I think, 200 servers to run the mesh. That was a little bit of a but yeah, our ops teams, Ahmed specifically, got a call from Ahmed immediately. But anyway,
내부적으로 이 quasi dynamic
you've been calling it quasi dynamic, and I've been trying to workshop a new name for you. Just a little bit of dynamism. But so you did your first test of this quasi dynamic, like a server. You try to determine how much you need, and the first thing it did was ask for 200 more servers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah. A little bug in the assignment system, but
that sounds like human nature.
Correct. So that's what we're working on right now. That's the next step towards the full dynamic mesh, right? Obviously, the goal with the dynamic mesh, just to recap it, is that instead of having a a subdivision that we pre-make.
다이내믹 서버 매싱의 궁극적인
every
목표에
patch we look at the territory assignment is what we call it, of like what's coming. Like, oh, we have an event at this place, and most players are going to go to this system, and so we adjust the mesh, right? And sometimes we get it wrong, and it's a very manually intensive process, and we don't want to keep doing that. So the goal with the dynamic mesh is to be able to just adapt to where the players are, the cost of the location,
예전에 여러분 했던
to
얘기
be able to
하는데
provision compute
결론적으로 유저가 멀리 있는 곳은 서버가 더 많이 분할돼가지고 많이 운영되고 유저 없는 데서는 서버가 사라지고 뭐 이런 느낌으로 운영한다는 거.
Provision a server for every territory that's configured. And so there's a little bit of
테리토리
savings
영토마다 그러니까 영역마다
but more
서버가
importantly, the dynamic aspect of it is to be able to always make sure that the proper compute is available for players when they're in an area
샤드
doing
하나,
something.
파이로 샤드 하나 이런 게
So
아니고
that's the goal.
유저
Chat's
수에 따라
debating
맞춰서.
whether the servers have actually achieved AGI and have played the game, and they're just like we've played the game. Give me 200. So that's server meshing.
Yeah.
Last year was coined as the year of playability.
Mm-hmm.
So we've just backdoored a whole bunch of playability improvements that server meshing, which dropped last year, enabled. So we've had all of those improvements last year that made the game far more playable than it was in any previous year.
작년에
But
그가
that
어떤 해보다 게임을
phrase
더
has
게임성을
been
강화시켜서 많은
used,
콘텐츠를
it's weaponized, it's thrown back every once in a while, every time somebody encounters any kind of bug whatsoever. So I want to talk, and that's not entirely unfairly, because everybody's bug that they're encountering is the most important bug in the universe at that given moment, and that one is not resolved because they're encountering it.
예,
I want to talk a little bit more about
버그
what we
고치는 건
did gain
중요하지만
last
모든
year.
유저가
So
자기가 먼저 만나는 버그가
it's
제일
whether
먼저
that's
고쳐야 된다고
the
얘기를
transit system stuff, the
하는 걸
30Ks
하는 경향이
finally
있다.
being killed, the
우리는
creatures and boss fights and
실제적으로
stuff.
이제 무슨
When
걸
you tell me, how did our year of playability go in your head?
Well, so I
집은
think
다른
that obviously coming from the server meshing
버그도
improvements,
많았는데
there was also some
작년에
failings at
그
the beginning of the
작년에
year
했던
where
것도
we
어떻게
saw.
생각하냐 이렇게.
I mean, transit became a very big problem. That's an example of a
Only
system.
because we tried to use it.
Yeah, well, yeah, or tried to serve you, but badly. But that's an example of a system that was built years ago that wasn't properly scaled over time, and so when you added dynamic gateways for the transit system plus the meshing situation, that became a really problematic system. And so that was, I think, the first order of business once we launched 4.0 was like, we need to really take action on transit. And so we talked about this last year, but we did create the Transit Heroes group, which was a coalition of volunteers. Well, they got volunteered. Voluntold, yes, exactly. To come and give a bit of oversight on this, to look at the system to see, okay, what do we need to actually have stable elevators and trains and make sure that that's always available. Because the traversal of the game, if that doesn't work, then the game doesn't work at all. Right? If you can't take an elevator to get out of the
자기 생각에 제일 문제점인 얘기도 하고 언제 리셋하냐는 얘기도 있고.
So the Transit Heroes team, I think, has done a fantastic job. They haven't re-engineered the system in that strike team, but they really focused on self-healing strategies, right? If a manager loses a carriage for some reason, for any reason, well, just create another one and get this thing rolling, right? Now, they couldn't fix, in this effort, they couldn't rebuild the system. There was fundamental flaws in how it was engineered for server meshing support. And so, but at least they got it into working condition. So I do think, like, if you look at the game now, transit is no longer the big problem it used to be, right? Like, it actually functions when you need it. Now, that said,
most times
it fixes itself, right? So it's still getting in a weird state, but it fixes itself. So, we've done more about this.
And we're building the transport system concurrently.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while this team is repairing the transit system, we're building a new bespoke transport system.
Right. So transport is basically the fix for this, like the real fix.
Let's get to transport when we talk about what's fun.
Yeah.
So what else did we get last year?
Well, I got a list here that I worked out a little bit with Jens just to gather up because the game is so big. So
I'm gonna limit you a little bit on this time. You've got.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
I'm being time boxed
because we do want to get to the new exciting hotness. And
I'll go for
this is important.
Okay, so we talked about 30K
hold
protection.
On, my clock app.
Okay,
here we go. Sorry.
Go for it.
Go.
You should be a producer. Okay, 30K protection, transit improvements, right, to make it stable. A stable tech base for the content teams. What doesn't show is that to achieve the content we shipped in 25, we actually froze a lot of the technology to give the content teams a stable base to work off. Before, it was a bit more of a mayhem. So we did that. As we built all of this content last year, so a monthly patch was a very heavy cadence.
10 patches last year.
Yeah. I think that what's really cool is that we've built kind of a library of locations and events that if you start playing Star Citizen today, there's that to do, right? It's like that. We never had that before. Like a real set of locations that have like a full-on.
만약 네가 스타시티즌 오늘 시작한다면 예전에 몇 년 전에 비해서는 할 게 있다.
In these locations, we're able to ship some creatures, some new creatures. So a lot of new creatures and boss fights. So we had the first couple boss fights this year. With Yormandi, Stormbreaker. So that's like a brand new, design discipline for us to design boss fights for multiplayer elements. So that's new. Spawn in hangar is something that we've actually been able to enable this time. So we tried to enable it in 24, and that was a bit of a disaster. 25 now, spawn in a hangar is there. So if your hangar is available, you spawn directly there. That's actually a very large quality of life improvement. I play the game a lot. It's, not having to go to the hubs is fantastic. We've been able to put weather in key locations, including some of those big hero locations we talked about. We're hoping to do more, but for now it actually is there. 2 new star systems, we talk about this. Jump gates, which is a whole, a game on its own. The way it functions is actually super interesting. As you're going through, the zone is moving and you're moving within the zone. It's really a fun system to go through. So that's in. We fixed the goddamn bounty beacons, which is one of the coolest loop in the game. I love it. And, that was obviously not working. So now we've actually got them to work again, which is a big win. Quantum interdiction was in the same bag, where now with a server mesh, having proper interdiction was kind of difficult. So restoring it was an interesting one. We had to actually build systems to allow that because not every server has a view of the entire shard anymore, and so in order to interdict cross-server, you needed to have a special tech to do that. That fixed also quantum linking. Now, routing is still... there's still issues, right? It's getting there, but at least there's been some quality of life improvements on that side that we've done this year. Freight elevator, ongoing.
We'll have a whole section on freight elevator.
But there's been a lot of, throughout the year, freight elevators have received tons of...
Compared to where they started when we attempted to push them, when we pushed them to the forefront for an event, and compared to where we started. But
we talked about server FPS and stability from the meshing and the cleanup that we've put in place. Also, we've pushed at the middle of the year, it came for you guys at the end of the year, but actually we merged it at the middle of the year, but a whole new tech base, including at least a year of graphics update, including Vulkan, coming into the game now. That was what will allow us this year to do some pretty large changes as well. The first weaponized mech, so the Atlas ICT came in, so that's also a really big boost. We still don't know if it's a vehicle. John Crew and I have this ongoing feud.
아직
He says it's not. I say it is.
탈 것으로 볼 건지
I'm not going to let you count
아이템으로 볼
the
건지
XD.
내부적으로 정확하게 논의가 안 돼.
Although the jump jets were a
모르겠대.
feature, I suppose.
There you go.
The jump jets were
There
a
you go.
feature. So I'll give you half credit for the XD.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will take that. Comms notification got a big facelift. That's something that we want to use a lot more of. And so we needed the proper tech to be able to render that properly and not just the quip lines, which, You need more immersion than that. So that was actually a pretty big thing with facial animations and tracking, and so that's in there. And then cross-shard progress for events. So what powered a lot of the content this year was a new service in the background of the game called the scenario service, which whether you're doing clean air or the resource drive last year, the cross-shard progress of these events is tracked by the scenario system, and so that's how we were able to show tables about resource drive, stuff like that. Exactly.
That's a pretty good list. You just got it says 5:02.
Yes.
Look at that.
On time.
And you didn't even mention like item recovery.
No, I did not.
Didn't mention item recovery. And there was one other that I had until I got distracted by my own clock.
It's all a blur.
I got distracted by my own clock. Basically, it's hard. Let me think about how I want to say this. If you've been watching this show long enough, you know that I'm not above taking a section, in this case 5 minutes of the section, to basically go through some talking points that I want, that I think are important, that I think people want to hear. We have had things like the year of playability thrown back at us in comms, and when you see, I tune into a Twitch stream or YouTube stream, and and somebody gets a very frustrating experience. I was looking at an experience of somebody, just going to town with their whole C, and they went through a jump point, and it took them trying to go to one system, it kicked them back out to the next system, and the thing crashed, and then they got back in, and the spindles, they tried to open the spindles, but the spindles were closed, looked closed, but they were actually open, so they were in the wrong state. Tried to get refuel, tried to go to refuel. The refuel thing wasn't working, and then stowed the ship and spawned the ship, and it didn't come back on the docking port. It came back in their hangar full of cargo, and it's like this. It's like, we acknowledge that. I'm sitting here saying we acknowledge those things. But there was so many massive improvements last year. You used an analogy last time we did with this about I think it was the big freight container, the big giant Suez Canal shipping things, that you don't just turn the direction around, you don't just spin the wheel and suddenly you're facing a new direction. It takes time to move these things. And the efforts of your teams and the people under you, these strike teams, these hero teams as you call them, to turn this ship that we call the persistent universe around the last year, has been phenomenal. If I'm allowed to have a personal opinion, being the shill for the company that I am, has been phenomenal. We haven't gotten everything. We still got another year. The work continues. But it's my show, and I wanted to take 5 minutes to acknowledge the tremendous work of those teams. And a whole lot was accomplished last year, in addition to the amazing content work. I said 10 patches, and I realized we actually had 11 because we kicked engineering out. We kicked engineering out in December, so it was actually 11 patches. 11 patches in 12 months is pretty crazy. So you allow me to have a moment, to have some time to sit there and sing the praises of those people, because I've seen where we were, and I know where we are, and we're in a much better place now. Still
beginning of the
still places to go.
Yes.
That scenario I just described was like last week. Still places to go.
자기네들도 유저들이 지금 언급하는 버그들 이런 거 다 알고 있고,
I think it's a testament to kind of the systematic approach
그것도 해야 되지만 그만큼 새 것도 만들어야 되기 때문에 작년에 11개의 패치 통해가지고 많은 거 만들어야 했다 미리 얘기하고,
and they would find the fastest way to solve it,
쟤도
and now we
모르고 뭐
gotta
만들고
work as
새거
a
만들고 있는
team
거 아니다.
with the teams in quality assurance that are basically the arbiter.
괜히 그냥 트집 잡고 싶은
No, it's not fixed. I can still repro, right? And these guys have been going through a systematic approach for it. I think that's paid off a bit.
어차피 버그라는 게
we get better.
누가 특정 하나가 고칠 수 있는 것도 아니고
we try.
특정 팀이 고치는 것도 아니고
in this case, we definitely done better. There were some big changes to internal infrastructure and stuff in the last year or two, and we're seeing the results of that stuff. All right. So now let's go into some specific updates here. So let's talk about the transport system. We don't need to talk about transit so much anymore. The transport system is what will one day replace this thing. I've heard talk about there being a tech preview of it soon. Talk to me about the transport system.
Also, transit was problematic, wasn't designed for server meshing. And so transport is a complete rebuild of the transit system, but using more server meshing native approaches for how different pieces are going to manage elements that are streamed out and streamed in. We're also moving away from some previous misconceptions that were put into the transit system. For example, one of them was responsible for trains going into space. We don't want trains to go into space. So
you might not.
well,
도시에 있는 대중교통도 있잖아요. 열차라든지 뭐 셔틀이라든지
astral train
이런 게 원래 서버 메싱을 기준으로 만들어진 게 아니었기 때문에
right? So, at the end
문제가
of the
많아서
last
아예
year,
내부적 시스템이요. 그
What's
내부적
included in
시스템을
transport?
아예 바꾸려고
So what are we talking about?
So transit and transport manage elevators, in-ship elevators, trains, anything that has to move when you press a button on the car. So it's a network of carriage, peripheral, and gateway.
Okay.
Right. So you take an elevator to go to your hangar. That's transit.
You take a tram.
Anything
that's automated, anything that moves you not under your control.
Right. And he's the one moving the carriages, right? Okay. So he needs to deal with carriages being streamed out, like prediction for that stuff. So, so transport is a rebuild of the original transit, which has been, as we talked about, problematic. So the state on transport is at this point we are, it's functional. So we've the team at the end of last year actually completed the first transport link, which was we tested this internally with our QA teams extensively at this point. All of the new Babbage HABs links. So we took one link in the universe, that one, and we tested the crap out of it. Right now, that's a static link. So it's going this. When I say static, it means the 2 points that the elevator goes to exist. Okay. They always exist. So we know that works. Then the state at the moment is we also support hangars. So these are dynamic gateways, because if you're online and you're at the location, your hangar is spawned there. That's a dynamic gateway. If you leave, that gateway disappears. So the system needs to deal with dynamic gateways. The previous system kinda did. And the kinda bit was the piece that wasn't great. Okay. And so we've got internally at the moment new Babbage, we've got hangars and HABs. So the state of transport now is the team is working at converting all of Area 18. So we're talking HABs, hangars, transit trains, all of Area 18 to the transport system. So we're going to go to tech preview with that. That's our plan. And the reason why we need to go to tech preview is because we need players. We've tested this internally. We can't muster as much players as we want, so we're going to try to see if you guys want to come and help us out test the new
건물 엘리베이터 포함해서 모든 엘리베이터
on a tech preview to validate all the
대중교통 이거
assumptions
시스템을 내부적으로 다 바꾼 다음에 테크 프리뷰 서버에서 유저들과 테스트를 해볼 예정이라고 합니다.
Correct.
근데 바뀐다기 어떻게 바뀐다는지 모르겠어요.
And hope
잘 이해가 안 가지. 설명하지.
No trains in space, no doors opening to nothingness. That'd be great. No passing through the floors in the
내부적으로 시스템을 서버 메시에 맞춰서 바꿔가지고 근데 우리 보는 건 똑같아요.
근데 보이는 건 똑같은데
내부적으로 시스템을 네트워크 시스템을 바꿔버려가지고 유저들이 과연 엘리베이터 타고 이상한 데 날아가거나 이런 것들을 전반적으로 다 테스트해볼 생각이라고 올해는 엘리베이터 관련된 버그픽스 많이 하겠다.
There's one thing too we want to try to avoid is the train prediction taking
작년 초에 화물 엘리베이터 테스트 엄청 했듯이
where the train arrives in 1,060,000, which obviously we hope that's
I just thought it was a metaphor for the project. Am I allowed to say that?
At this point you are. So
자기네들 내부 QA 팀 테스트로는
after tech preview, we're going to scale this out to every landing zone. And we're going to see which patch this will load in. But at that point, we hope to bring transport and completely deprecate the transit system.
관련된 이동 관련된 시스템들 다 적용을 해서.
Cool. Yeah.
And that's next week.
문 같은 것도 마찬가지예요. 문도 일종의 건물 문이라든지
best effort, but it's looking good. Like this tech preview is going to be where we're going to evaluate really like where we're at with scale, because the issues with transit typically come up with scale most of the time. Right?
Fair enough. I told you we get back to freight elevators.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about freight elevators and what still needs to happen?
Sure. So the freight elevators are way more complicated than we can imagine because they get affected by other systems like hangars, like planetary locations. There's also multiple flavors of them, top loading, side loading, and they all operate very differently. So this year, we've had issues at the beginning of the year clearly with the freight elevators, losing items, obstruction, blocking them from functioning.
You said the beginning of the year, but that really came to a head in July.
Where we had even an event that would rely on them, which was, in retrospect,
Well, we knew there was a collection of issues, but we also all of our data said they were only
localized.
Localized on this. It wasn't until we went to scale.
That's right.
That we realized, oh, this is actually even worse than we thought.
Right. It's also coupled to a couple of things, and for that event specifically, which was
작년에 했던 리소스 드라이브 미션 하면서
that's one thing
자기네들 생각 이상으로 화면 엘리베이터가 문제가 많았다는 거를 알았다라는
how we distribute missions, right? How we, if we launch a new mission tomorrow morning and we send it to the same spot, that is problematic. Not just because it's not fun, because it's a traffic jam, but also it causes other issues. And so that we learned a lot from that on the design side, I think, overall. But so freight elevators, though, we're pretty happy with some of the core mechanics, but there's still very egregious issues that we're tracking. So there's roughly 73 total issues that we know about. 51 of those have been resolved. So I've asked one of our teams, our Nathaniel Fisher, resident expert in freight elevators, to track that. So the rest of these issues some of them are really problematic. One of them we actually discussed, you and I, just before the show, was how if you're turning in Wicklow items, you need to put them one by one.
Things in a box. You have to be able to put things in a box.
Correct. And so
you have to be able to put things in a box and have it suck up that box.
Yes, I agree, 100%. And so that's going to be one of the first ones I think we need to look at. The other one is a bit more problematic because we don't have a proper repro for, but sometimes there are lost items that fail if there's like a back-end slowdown when things get stowed. So we have a couple reports for this, not many, but the ones that we have are critical. And so, this is a kind of a rule we've set on the CGP team. So Jens and I are pushing this to everybody. It's like the golden rule for everything related to freight elevators or anything that touches inventory is a player should never lose an item interacting with these systems, right? We need trust in them 100%. And so that's why we're tracing on those issues. So there's still a lot more work required on freight elevators for different edge cases. A new one that we started seeing in 4.6, which seems affected by another change, but is sometimes like putting stuff on the elevator, not on the grid, will cause it to disappear,
right?
Which is kind of a physics cleanup conflict. So I know we're looking into this right now because that's a big one. But and then everything that has to do with stacking. So having a stack in your inventory that you want to unstow onto the freight elevator. That mechanism from a backend perspective is actually a creation. I know that sounds weird, but you have a stack of 10, that's one item with a stack of 10. You may bring it's a creation of 9. So that bit is not stable right now. We're trying to improve that that mechanism.
It's hard because there's a lot of the chat right now is debating Wicklow at the moment. And
wait, did I say his name?
Well, if I say it 3 times, he shows up on the screen. But a not insignificant part of the dislike for Wicklow is directly related to that freight elevator. It's just we have a section later on. We asked around.
화물 엘리베이터 얘기하면서 미켈로한테 화물 엘리베이터 납품할 때
we started talking like what is the single greatest quality of life thing that we can do. I went around and I asked a couple head honchos here on the company. I was curious. I did an interview before, like what to you is the single biggest quality of life thing we could do? The single biggest. And on more than one occasion, shout out to Jens. I'm going to spoil it here. Not losing items.
Yeah.
Just not losing items. Just that seemingly simple, benign, innocent little thing. Like if everything else is important, everything else is super important, everything else is super necessary. It absolutely is. But God is my witness. If we can just make it so people don't lose their items, like. So
I agree.
Shout out to the heroes of the freight elevator hero squad. I thought it was Strike Squad, but you've rebranded it during this call as Hero Squad, and I like it.
Right.
So we'll do it. And everybody, the people in item recovery, the people in the new inventory, people who are working on the new inventory system right now. It's everybody working to fix that, because that's just the single most demoralizing thing in the world to me.
화물 엘리베이터 아이템 같은 거
Speaking of item recovery, we launched
그런 것들
V0 or V1 or whatever the heck we called it.
만드는 팀이라든지 인벤토리
I'm hearing that there's a
같이
T1 on the
다루면서
horizon.
고치려고 노력하고
Talk to
있다고
me
하죠.
about it.
Well, so obviously Tier 0 was a fairly large change to the game, so that
아이템 리커버리 얘기하고
in the case where you die in the verse, instead of having to run a corpse run to recover your items, you would actually respawn with them. This was mainly done to, we're in an alpha game.
입고 있는 거는 그대로
we needed to do
부활하잖아요.
some compromises, so we
그전에는
looked
다
at that. So item
잃어버렸는데.
imprint, there's multiple names for this at this point. Item imprint, item recovery, tier 1, entitlements 2.0. Those are all sort of related. So the gist of it is, and this ties into, some other subjects, but is that currently when you play the game, right, and you look at your ASOP terminal, I think I've said that last time, but I'll still go through it again. When you look at your ASOP terminal, the list that you see there is the list of entitlements that you own, which ship that you own, you have a right to, right? Then that's cross-linked with the actual ship. Do you have it? This entitlement, let's say it's a Connie, what is it in the game, right? And where is it? And that's how the ASOP terminal shows you the list, right? So that's why you're able to have a row when there's no ship and it says retrieve or deliver, right? That creates the ship. Then deliver brings you the ship on the platform. Those entitlements currently, they don't live across patches. We recreate them. The first time you log in, there's a big process that reconciles your account, grabs your web purchases, grabs your LTP records, and recreates those entitlements. Obviously, long-term persistence has always been it's a difficult problem to solve. It sounds simple, but it is not, I assure you. But in order to facilitate all this and also other item recovery needs, we've decided to basically persist those entitlements across patch. So these things will never get wiped anymore. And so losing a ship is not going to be a thing. That's not going to be technically possible.
큰 의미에서 한 번도
really
아이템이잖아요.
entitlements. And so
그런 거
you have
포함해서
insurance on
이야기를
those
하고
records,
있는데
so you can claim insurance.
뭐
The
패치가
only way
지날
to lose a ship
때마다
will be if you no
한
longer have
번이랑
insurance on
아이템
it. You still have the
사라지고
deed for it, but you can't
이런
claim it.
것들이
So
어떤
item
프로세스로
recovery is
내부적으로
a rework of the
유저한테
entitlement
자기
system.
갖고 있는 한풀 리스트를 보여주는지
It touches
설명을
on
했고요.
how you claim insurance
네,
on
그게 매
ships.
패치마다 리셋해가지고
It
보여주는
allows
느낌으로
snapshotting
시스템이
of
설정이
ships,
돼
but
있나 봐요.
also FPS items.
그러다가
so
보니까
that
뭐
these
제대로
live
불러오지
with an
못한
insurance
데이터들은
loadout that
없어지고 뭐 이런 건 것
we can
같은데
keep and
그런
recover.
거가
And
이제
then
장기적
will give us the
데이터
ability to
보관
recover or
기술을
claim your
완성해야 되는데
even
그게
FPS items.
생각보다
So think of it
보기에는
as
쉬워
an
보이지만
insurance system for
어렵다라고 얘기를 하고
FPS
있대요.
items. So
그런
this whole
부분에
mechanic
있어서
ties into LTP as well.
그
We're also hoping through the system to solve some of the issues that exist with, taking components off of a ship, then claiming the ship, losing the components, and or in some cases being able to duplicate some default components. This whole loop is insurance has always been a problem design-wise for how this functions. So item imprint V1 allows you to imprint items, save that state, and then recover it on death or when you claim insurance.
All right, so I have a
아이템
couple questions here.
임프린트라는 뭐
Sure.
기술을 일단은
You keep
고안하고 있는 것
mentioning
같은데
insurance. Are you saying that
우리가 설정한
insurance will
아이템
be
세팅
in
그대로
alongside
조작을
V1
해놓고
or just
그걸 그대로
exactly.
살려주는 시스템으로
Correct. I say
만들려는 것 같아요.
insurance because that's the
일단
same kind of
컨셉상.
loop in terms of what the services are doing
Yeah.
to do this, but basically it's a snapshot we recover from.
Gotcha.
그러니까 함선에 우리가 무기랑 부품을 이렇게 달아놓고
it'll still be much like it is today as far
그거를
as
가지고
everybody will just have global.
우리가 인프린트에 저장을
Everybody has
해놓으면
LTI on everything.
패치가 진행이 되든 말든
until that
상관없이
very
그대로
specific
유지할 수
gameplay system is implemented.
보험
So this is
청구하는
not
것도 그대로
that.
돌아오고
You're
이런
using
느낌으로
lowercase I insurance.
생각하고 있는 것 같아요.
Sorry, I just
보험
needed to,
포함된
like,
이야기.
underscore I.
I didn't think ship insurance was coming in this one.
Yeah.
So just to clarify that before folks
그러니까 우리가
go
무기
off.
세팅, 부품 세팅 해놓고 그대로
You're
인프린트에
saying that
저장해놓으면
because it's a change to the
관절
entitlement
버전이
system and
바뀌었을 때
everything would
리셋되지
just get
않고 그
snapshot and
그대로
moved over.
불러오는 그런 느낌으로
When you say people will no longer lose ships, you're talking about that whenever a patch comes out, people come in, they're talking about the ships that they've earned in game, the ships they've either bought with AUEC or stolen or whatnot. Those should persist.
아이템 관련된
We have an
기술을
entitlement
만들고
for
있는데
something.
이름은
We no
기술
longer want
전반적인
that
이름을
between
바꿀
patches.
예정이라고 합니다. 아이템 리커버리가 아니라
Okay.
다른 걸로
So
바꾸는
that
거예요.
should give us a lot more. In fact, it is exactly the way you would expect it to function right now, except the way the systems were built in the past didn't account for that. And so there was cases where you could lose something that you own because it was left unstowed in a shard or something like that. And so now with the entitlement system, we keep that cross-patch.
So the first question I have in response to that is, how will people get rid of things? Because quite frankly, I might go joyriding one day, or I might buy a thing for AUEC and fly it, and then decide I don't want it, I don't like it, and now it's just sitting there staring at me in the ASOP. If these things don't go away between patches now, every time I want to try a ship, or I just move away for a ship, or John Crew nerfs the hell out of the ship and I don't want to fly it anymore.
Goddamn John Crew.
I might want to get rid of it. Will there be is there going to be a mechanism for getting rid of these
캐시
things?
아이템 빼고.
Not with item imprint, right? As part of this, no.
그거 관련되는
there
뭐 다른
are,
고안이 있냐라고 물어보고 있어요.
I don't want to go too much into details into this, but I can give an example of like, you have a ship filled with cargo that you stow into your location inventory in New Babbage, and you claim that ship, right? In the current way the system works, that cargo's lost, right? That ship will get deleted and you're done, right? You get a new one, but it's the same entitlement, right? With the new system, we have the ability to also show you ships that you own that had an entitlement on it. And so what that means is you could claim that ship, you'll get a new, let's say it's a Caterpillar filled with cargo, and you're like, I need to claim it for some reason. You can claim the ship. The other ship will be bricked, right? That's how the design is functioning. So it's no longer usable, but you can still retrieve it. You can still retrieve the bricked ship and get it. And then if you destroy the ship or tow it out, then it'll go away from your entitlement. But there's going to be more system, of course, to remove that from your ASOP terminal longer term, but not in this phase, but longer term, yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the long-term players, the people who have been here for a while, who have acquired a rather massive fleet already, and
I'm a victim of this.
And you start buying ships, and I'm guilty, but there's just sometimes I don't want this anymore. I don't want to look at a I don't know, a Rock DS.
지금과 다른 답변해가지고 내가 이거 뭐라고 설명해 지금.
Just want it out of my ASOP. I bought it mistakenly from Astro Armada. I just had a momentary weakness. I don't want that Rock DS staring at me in my ASOP for the end of time, because you've done a wonderful thing with item recovery, V1.
But now you keep it.
And now you're stuck with it. Yeah, some things.
Are you saying you don't want your ships anymore?
I'm just saying some things aren't meant to be persisted. So I just want to take this opportunity to just encourage
a good conversation.
There should be some way to remove, to get rid of it.
I'm very curious about why you singled out the Rock DS out of this.
How much time you got? Jared hates the Rock DS confirmed. Oh, you haven't been watching for a while if you're just getting that confirmed now. Jared, you're not supposed to be going on shows and telling people you hate certain ships. You're supposed to be championing everything. I'm like,
yeah.
I hate the Rock DS.
갑자기 ROC DF 싫어한다고 얘기해.
Let's just do everything the first Rock does.
경시 오빠도 설명 못하겠네. 일단은 어디까지 얘기를 했냐면
Look,
저희 분노아가
never lied to you, I never will.
지금은 우리가 알던 유베비에이지에 카고를 가득 채운 캐터필러가
You've been
있고요.
mentioning long-term persistence, so let's just wrap up this.
캐터필러를
the storyline of losing stuff, keeping stuff. Last time we had this conversation, you talked about utilizing this entitlement system. Is that what we were just talking about, or is there more stuff?
단기적인 관점에서는
So there's a lot of
클레임을 걸어도 그 UBABJ에 있는 화물 꽉 찬 캐터필러를 이게 벽돌화 되긴 하는데 불러가지고 거기 있는 화물을 뺄 수 있도록 뭐 이런 식으로 설계할 예정이라고 하네요.
There's a mechanism we put in place to allow you to keep things between patches.
클레임 걸고 나면 옛날 함선은 후지는 못하지만 함선을 운영을 못하지만 내부에 있는 물건을 회수할 수 있도록
every patch we basically destroy.
약간 벽돌화해가지고 유지시키는 그런 단기적인 기술을 고안 중이다라고 얘기했어요.
Right? The whole thing is fresh, and then we recreate things.
네, 질문은 그게
Why do we
아니었거든요.
recreate things?
질문은 뭐였냐면
Because these things are still
제라드가 한 질문은 뭐였냐면
So
나
Hornet you had in
함선
4.5
키오스크에서 이 함선
is
싫다.
probably different than
게임
the
내에서
Hornet
실수로
we have in
샀다. 이거
4.5.
지울 수 있는 방법 없냐?
Item
이
port
질문이었거든요.
locations have changed. Materials have
거기에
changed.
답변 안 했어.
Serialized variables and all the data that goes with it has changed.
The gold standard Aurora that we just launched is technically an entirely different ship. The whole entity is different.
Exactly.
그 예시를 ROC DF로
To the backer, it looks like
채팅창에서
okay, you just added
제라드
some,
ROC
you added
DF
some fins
싫어한대요,
and blah, blah,
싫어한대요.
blah. But under the hood, it's an entirely new set of entities.
방송사고 쳐다보면서 나 싫어해. 나는 뭘 싫어한다 얘기하면 안 되는 입장이지만 나 싫어해. 막 이렇게 얘기하고.
Records of what you own.
말이 막
So it says
이것저것 왔다 갔다 해가지고 어디부터 시작할지 몰라.
That system has always been kind of a I don't want to say a crutch because it did function for a long time, but we've outgrown it.
게임 내에 팠으면 팔 수 있어야 될 거 아니야. 함선.
There are also many cases where you would remove records of things that you own because they're in play in a shard. That's been proven to be a bit of a bad decision overall, and so that's why we've had multiple issues over the years of like players losing ship entitlements in the new patch or having more items than they were supposed to get. Like, you know, some people have shown some screenshots of demultiplication of things between patches, and so it's been a big issue, right? So with the item imprint work, we're tying into that. We're reducing the footprint of what LTP manages by a lot because it will no longer store your entitlements. We just keep those as is. So that's one big bit removed from that system. The other complexity on that side is that it needs to manage nested inventories. And
back to the freight elevator thing,
that's just completely crazy. So like, you know, I have a handgun stored in the glove box of my Merlin that's attached to my Connie that's parked somehow inside of my, you know, Idris and stowed in my location inventory. Well, I need to give you a record for that gun, right? And so that system needs to reread data and store it, and it's really complicated.
Which is why people have gotten into the habit before a wipe, or before a patch.
스타시티즌이 너무
Freudian slip, huh?
복잡한 시스템을 많이 갖고 있어가지고. 뭐 또 다른 게임에서 되게 쉽게 하는 건데 스타시티즌은 못하는 게 너무 많은 것 같아.
But before a patch, people stow things in certain inventories to have their best
어느 막
chances.
사물함에는 뭐 총기를 넣고 어느 사물함에는 뭐 권총을 넣고 어느 사물함에는 탄약을 넣고 어떤 컨테이너 빈 컨테이너를 어디다 설치해가지고 거기에는 우주복 넣어놓고 그리고 뭐 함재기도 이렇게 넣어놓고 이런 데이터를 한꺼번에 포장해가지고 CIG는 그 보관을 하고 있어야 되잖아요. 그래야지 유저가 다시 한번 그걸 한푼에 뽑아내는 아니면 막말로 아까 말씀드렸던 새로운 기술이 나와서 그걸 클레임 걸었을 때 그대로 그 벽돌화돼가지고 그대로 있다던가 그런 걸 하려면 모든 데이터가 유지돼야 되는데 그 데이터량이 엄청 작진 않겠지. 엄청나게 크겠지. 다른 게임 비해가지고
being able to just
하나만
migrate
해도
the
엄청나게
shape
클 거야.
of the hierarchy, the item port locations, and the serialized variable formats on these things.
그런
Now,
것 때문에
the thing that's you got to think about the way the ships are built, right? The entities have components on them which enable them to do something. I'll give an example just for the layman. You have a health component on an entity that says, hey, I got 100 hit points. When that reaches 0, then we destroy the entity, or something else happened, it destroys itself, right? That component is written in code. There's a game programmer that's maintaining this. We actually have a health component. It does way more things than this, but just to keep it simple. So a game programmer is programming this, and he needs to persist the value of health so that when this ship is now, either put in an inventory, then brought back into the game, that the values of the health components on the parts, on the individual parts, have persisted, and we reload it, right? This is true for everything in the game, right? We have serialized variables and components across the game. There's, I think your character at the moment has like 800 serialized variables on it or something like that, right? So those are all different components. Are you crouched? Are you standing? Are you, health of all the limbs, stuff like that, right? So the programmers between patches. I removed this one, and I put a new one in, and then because some of those variables, it doesn't matter if it changes. Some of them matter, right? If you change that, like it's a different shape, it loads a different CGA model, whatever, right? So that's the big problem about how we need to forward migrate, is we need to do this at the very low level. So currently, our network team and our online teams are working at this mechanism to be able to differentiate the important from the important SVs, the serialized variables, on components. So that's all across all components in the game. There's over 1,500, 2,000 components, individual code components in the game. So, for example, I don't need to know if you're crouched when I stow you in your inventory, right? I don't need to know that, right? But I need to know that when we're running and you're crouched, right? So we differentiate the two, and then we have a mechanism to migrate the data format from one to the other. When we get that functionality in and reliable, what that means is that we will just keep the database. And that is huge, because now that means there's no longer a process between patches that transfers stuff or moves it around or recomputes things. It's the same database. We're just moving its version forward on demand.
결론적으로 말하자면
하려는 게
우리 일반적인 게임에서 하려는 거랑 똑같은 거니까 데이터 보관에 관련돼서 사실 패치가 됐다고 우주 전역에 있는 어디 위치에 있는 아이템들이 자기 아이템들이 모양 도시로 보이는 게 말이 안 되잖아요. 다른 게임에서는 전혀 볼 수 없는 그런 형태잖아요. 그런 거 당연히 일반적인 게임처럼 일반적인 현실적인 부분처럼 그냥 패치가 되든 말든 상관없이 원래 그 아이템 거기 있어야 되고 그 함수는 거기 있어야 되고 이래야 되잖아요. 그거를 그거를 만들기 위한 뭐 이야기를 하고
because like in case you guys don't know, every time we do
자기들도 그러니까 그렇게 하려고 하고 있다는 정도만 얘기하는 거지. 정확한 뭐 계획이라든지.
But when we perform hotfixes, and God knows we've done a lot of hotfixing this year, right? That's part of our process now. But there's like specific steps where we have our live QA team need to do compatibility checks, and any change to any serialized variable, added, removed, change the format, change the data, whatever, incompatible client. And so getting our processes in place to catch those before they get introduced, right, is really taxing, because there's always also fix this bug, and that make the whole hotfix incompatible and we can't launch it. So we have to backtrack, change our approach, whatever. And so that's the kind of thing we're dealing with. This will also solve that if we can make it.
And before somebody says you should have just made a simpler game, Benoit. Have you considered just making a simpler game?
Yeah. Cool.
All right, I want to move into our quality of life section here.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit before, because we just talked a whole lot about not losing things and all the efforts being made of not losing things. But there are other major quality of life things. For me, personally, after the not losing the things, it's social.
Yeah.
It's social communication.
The ability to group with people, the ability to communicate with people, the ability not to communicate with people, the ability just be like, oh, hey, that's a bad person. That's a bad person with bad thoughts and bad intentions, and boop, boop, and kick them into the pit from 300.
Sure.
제가 지적하고 있대요.
Never to see or hear from that person again. All the tools for joining up. Finally, people have been creating and managing orgs on our website since 2013.
Yeah, 13.
And this is 2026, and those orgs still not in game.
Correct. What are we doing?
We're reenacting a little play because Benoit and I have had this conversation almost verbatim for a little time. I'm just doing the conversation we had in private for you guys right now. So my question, Benoit, friend, person whom chat has dubbed brother, my brother.
From another mother.
When, please,
when,
God in heaven above or down below, who do I have to talk
new communication, when.
Give me something.
Good.
Social.
Yeah. Well, so, what is it now? It's all a blur. A social universe, right? The last panel that we did at CitizenCon. That outlines the vision of what we want to do with social. Now, with the year that we just had, we had to take a little bit of a detour on that initial plan, but right now we have completely formed the social strike team, and so a bit like the heroes team, right? The social strike team.
소셜 커뮤니케이션 관련된 스트라이크 팀을 새로 만들었다.
Execute this plan, right? And so.
So don't bury the lead. There is now an official dedicated team on this.
Social strike team, yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Social strike
and so this group is currently looking at all of the components that make up the social systems now, right? Fortunately for us, the work didn't stop on this side, even though we couldn't enact the changes in the game. On the back-end side of things, there's been a lot of progress on social. And so even though the systems look primitive in game, their capabilities have grown quite a bit, even in 25.
We do not using them yet.
So we do have a block list that we leverage now. It's simplistic, but because we didn't have the UI resources to do it completely. But
소셜
moving into
기능을
this
위해서
strike team, right,
저번에
covers all
작년에
areas
화물
of
엘리베이터
social.
스트라이크 팀 만들었듯이 소셜
The
스트라이크 팀
plan is
만들었대요.
to go into 4 different pillars for it. So the first order of business is the Comlink app. So the Comlink app is like one of the oldest mobi-glass application we still have.
채팅 기능 말하는
It's
거예요.
kind of an eyesore because it's like from a dark, ghost of futures past. It's like from 2000, I want to say 1918 at this point, style-wise. Very old technology, still use the legacy even UI framework that we had in the game. So we're completely eliminating that tab. We're bringing in forward the social application that we've shown at CitizenCon, so that design is moving forward. So replacing that, chat widget, right? So the entire chat experience in the game, we're completely overhauling this from the top at the moment. So we're right in the process of changing that and hooking it up to the new systems. Revamping things like, social notifications. Currently in our mobi-glass, we only have one kind of level of notification, which is like ultra important. So to have a proper social experience, you need to have these system updates, system notifications, like someone joins, someone leaves, whatever. Looking at things like combat log and all the stuff that we've looked at in the social universe panel. So we're actively building this now. And that's going to be the first, we don't know, I'm not going to say which patch is going to land in. So our schedule is twofold. There's a content patch schedule and there's a feature schedule. The features need to have leeway because it depends on where they're going to land. But that's going to be the first update to social will be Comlink app, right? So rich party information, friend phone tracking, chat app. So we're working on this right now, actively.
지금 당장 만들고 있는 거는 컴링크 우리 모비글라스의 컴링크 있잖아요.
I mean, it's
이착륙할
like
때 쓰는 거랑 파티 초대할 때 쓰는 그 메뉴 그거 리뉴얼부터 하고 있어요.
No, keep your dad here. Come on.
2026년 힘들다.
On the next milestone for the social strike team is going to be looking at the party finder mechanic, right?
파티 찾는 기능도
basically allows you to
개발할
advertise your party. And then get people to join in. Like, let's say you're looking for, a gunner and some FPS guys for your mission, then you can advertise that. If you're looking for, friends to go do a specific event, you can do that as well. And so Party Finder, we're hoping, is going to be a way for you to find friends on a given shard really rapidly. Also, tie that in with your friendship and your contacts. So that will be kind of, we're building on the first release, which will have our friend info tracking into that. So that's going to be super interesting.
그런 것들이 컴링크 개선 이후에 만들 예정이라고.
And then obviously the final, not the final, number 3 of 4, right, is the org system. And so
세 번째
in that
게
space,
org
we're
시스템.
taking the orgs on the website from
길드같이.
2013 and we're moving them completely. Obviously, the technology we used to build that in 2013 are obsolete. They're, it's a really old system. So we're bringing all of this data back into a game service to manage orgs, to surface that, obviously, game side. So now have org management screens, have your organization chat in the game, and then actually be able to create your organization from the game as well as surface it outside. So that's like, okay, now orgs are in the game. That's the first.
That's the whole name, and then the org. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and this will probably. I mean, we're still having internal discussions about how that surfaces. In our game, nothing is always set in stones. But probably going to tie into FPS, scanning radar. Additions to when you fly your ship to identify others with scanning, and so. The orgs will be part of that. That's it. Visibility in game, chat in game for your orgs, actually having your organization communications.
Yeah, that's a whole nother series of conversations. Weighing immersion versus running around and seeing it burns when I PvP.
Yeah.
Above people's heads.
특히 시스템 관련된 이야기를 할 때는.
Let me solo her.
Just. Fun fact, I got to write the original guidance at Blizzard for that back in 2004.
3선 라이브 방송 정도 되면
I got to make the original list
수적수적 스닉
These are examples of really bad guild names
nice.
to train game masters way back when.
Cool.
Chat, you've been saying it. It's next on the list.
Yeah.
VoIP.
Yeah.
VoIP, if you're doing all this stuff, VoIP.
We're looking at VoIP.
Such an important element.
Sure. It's all part of it.
Graham tells me it's entirely your fault.
Graham is.
VoIP 다 디스코드 하는데 되게 중요한.
Graham did not say that. He heavily implied it, though.
No.
Graham is more savvy than I am. He knew not to say it outright.
Yeah, that's right. We love him, but he's wrong. No, but okay. So VoIP, we're doing improvements there on the backend side of things. So VoIP is mainly, right now heavily affected by the shard size. So the original design for this was really made for the 100 servers, and so we haven't had a chance to go back there at all. As part of this work, this team is also going to look at the
글로벌 채팅 같은
infrastructure
데서
for
그냥 근처에 있는 사람들한테 전부 다 들리고 막 이런 식으로밖에 안
and we're going to
쓰이지
try
않으니까.
to make it scale to the proper thing. So
그거를
one
원하는
element that
파티,
we're talking
원하는
about
뭐
on
오그
chat and
혹은
comms
원하는
is
지역
that
거기서만 자기 목소리가
we're
들리고
probably
이렇게
going to be
만드는 게
moving away from
불가능하니까.
the server chat. So what the original global 600 player chat, and move into regional chats like a true MMO, so that it's tied to the region that you are. Maybe multiple channels for that, and so VoIP will also be affected by that because it also powers proximity chat.
일단 단기적으로는 채팅창이 일반 게임처럼
we're looking at voice
지역
transmission
채팅으로
from
바뀔
the top to
예정이라
bottom.
지금처럼 뭐 전 우주 다 채팅이 쓸 수 있는 게 아니라
to make it scale.
자기가 위치하고 있는
What do you have
지역에
against Baron's
지역
chat?
다른
chat was dope.
도시 챗 뭐 이런 식으로
Baron's chat was.
구분될 예정이라 일단 그 구분에 맞춰서 먼저
apparently
VoIP가 나올
Baron's chat was so
예정이고.
dope we implemented it here and have had it for the last 10 years.
That's right. Correct.
So,
Correct.
sorry.
We're also like out of this.
우리가
There's also
그것도 솔직히
some
필요하잖아. 함선내
movement
챗
on
이런 거.
player reporting
함선
for bad
방송 이런 거
behavior.
필요하잖아.
So not just blocking, which is
그런 것 때문에
is
사람들이
something that
VoIP
we have now,
하는 것
but
같은데.
that we want to expand on, but also like player reporting on for other players that are, either bad behavior, profanity in chat, things like that. Obviously, we don't at CIG don't have a large, moderation team in game. So we're going to need some automated help there that will come and clean up some of these elements. So we're trying to really tackle communications from the top there with that strike team.
So social, there's not ever losing an item. Shout out to gameplay engineering director Jens. That was his major one, and then
that was his coin.
that was his one. Didn't feel strongly enough to come on the show though.
No.
Jens.
생각보다 내용이 되게 소소한 거 위주로 얘기하는.
Sign them up right now.
소소한 게 맞다.
So not losing things.
중요하긴 하지.
Social tools. We'll throw VoIP in with social tools.
So chat, party finder, orgs is what we're going in order.
As far as major quality of life, I want to ask you personally. I'm allowed to say things personally sometimes.
크래프팅이랑 빌딩은 이분 팀이 하는 일인지는 모르겠어요.
Benoit, I want your personal thing. What is your big bugaboo? What is your big quality of life?
같이.
Bugaboo.
제일 중요한 기반 기술들 만드는
personal.
Yeah.
I've got 2.
거기에 CTO여가지고.
Scope creep.
Yeah. Okay, so
할 수도 있고 안 할 수도 있고.
I would say for me, in terms of quality of life, I love to play the game in a kind of a larger setup. So I have a kind of a flight seat that I like to operate to play the game, and this thing has roughly 13 devices connected to the game. Managing bindings is literally the worst. And so that's my pet peeve. If there was one thing that I could do for my own game experience, like other than like the in-game elements, it would be completely control bindings. Currently we rely on device order for some things, and so like literally you need to have like a kind of almost a common order for the devices on your machine. Sharing these profiles is very difficult. Being able to bind onto multiple devices, to really benefit from that. Being able to bind on multiple, like the same action on multiple devices, for me is super key, right? So that would be my absolute personal thing, quality of life to solve, would be device handling in general.
And you're announcing you've created a hero strike team for this.
No, I wish I could just do that, but it'd be cool,
So that's not something coming soon.
Well, there is work being done on the control systems, right? But not that I could say it's coming soon.
아까 유저들이 불편해하고 있는 것 중에 하나가 자기의 디바이스가 바뀌었을 때 뭐 우리가 키만으로만 플레이하시는 분들은 상관없겠지만 스틱이 바뀌거나 뭐 휠을 바꾸거나 이랬을 때 바인딩이 돌아가는 키바인딩이 돌아가는 이런 것들을
But if I gotta redo it every patch?
개선한 이런 게 있냐라는 게 질문, 약간 유저들의 질문
saving
사항이
them, cloud save across machines would be great.
그런 거나 뭐 아직까지
yeah, exactly.
Talk dirty to me, Benoit.
I mean,
없는 것 같습니다.
it's the kind of thing where like I do maintain a couple of rigs at CIG, and people are always changing bindings. But the problem is, I can't reapply my bindings because it's not the system anyway.
So there are sim pits in the office. There's sim pits in just about every office at this point, aren't there?
Yes.
Yeah. And Benoit is as if he didn't have enough to do. It's his little pet project. He's intricately involved in them. It's every time I come by and he's at a sim pit, I'm like, you have more important things to do. He's like, and it's always like, somebody change my bindings. Sorry, Pete. I needed the emphasis on it. It's just the number of times I've walked past this man who it's just like, so yes.
I mean, it's because Yogi and I always are fighting against what the best binding
여기
is.
팀에 가고 있나? 여기가 있는 팀에.
Mine is clearly better. But,
아니, 걔들 뭐하지?
so we've decided that at some point we'll just fix the binding system so that we don't have to argue. Just load the one you want.
And you had a second one.
So my second one for inside the game is that I've always found in general like like mission chains is a thing that I feel our gameplay is always one-dimensional, right? Like you do a thing, you finish it. Missions, I know of things, right? I know we're working on an updated mission system.
You're talking about the limitations of the existing missions. You're not talking about the quality of the work of the people that are working on these things.
Yeah.
You're talking about the tools that they have to work with.
The system around it doesn't allow us to do these massive quest chains, right? And I think that for me would be a huge quality of life, because you could go onto a long adventure that takes you across multiple things. And so
Elliot Maltby was about to be on the corner of the building.
I know,
with
he's calling me right now.
자기가 한다는 거야, 안 한다는 거야.
Talking about the tools that our mission
to enable these
available.
무슨 얘기하고 있냐면 미션 시스템 관련해서 이야기를
So I know
하고
we are working on an updated way to make
유저가 쓰는 미션
that is a
시스템
lot
말고요.
more
개발자가 미션을 만들기
like
위해서
life,
게임 개발 툴을 이용하는 그 미션 제작 시스템을 얘기하고 있었거든요. 다양한 형태의 미션을 만들고 단순히 미션을
수주하고
수행하면 끝난다 이게 아니라 여러 가지 체인이 있는 그런 미션 시스템을 만들기 위해서는
I think we should talk about a little
미션을
bit
만들 수 있는
why
도구가
that.
있어야 되는데
Well, maybe not
그
why.
도구를
But
만드는
we can
얘기하고
acknowledge. We can acknowledge that the tool set that was originally developed was not robust enough. It was not in line with the directions of a proper MMO.
Right.
It's no. I'm trying to decide how candid I want to be here and whatnot. It's a mission system. It's a mission system that can't give you a reward for doing something. Like we built the first version of the mission system where you do a thing, you achieve a goal, and we can't hand you a thing.
그래서 리셋 날짜가 와이프 언제야, 리셋 날짜 언제야 이렇게 채팅창이 계속 올라와. 다른 아이디로 계속 올라와. 채팅창이 방송 이제 보기 시작한 애들이 오자마자 질문하는 게 그건가.
However that was built and why that was built and who that was built and everything.
We've made
changes internally to fix it. We've made changes internally to adjust it, to replace it. It's currently under
근데 CIG가 매번
what they've managed to do with the limitations has been
아이템이랑 돈 같은 거 복제되는 걸 고친 다음에
about the event that's on right now. The event that's on right now, built with the existing system, built with the limitations, has our highest concurrency in the last 2 years outside of an Invictus or an IAE. So it's like they're doing tremendous work. Yes. They're doing tremendous work with the tools that they have.
본인이 현명하다 생각하는 분들도 무식하게 생각하는
분들도
We've got to unlock the tools for them.
자기 생각하는 게 절대 최초의 생각이
Because if they can do this with that, imagine what they could do if they could actually chain these things together and segment them off and have one continue after another and stuff like this. So
남들은 문제를 안 삼고 나만 문제 삼고 있는 것 같은 것들이 꼭 있어.
You know, so that it actually is one.
나는 답답한 거야. 그러니까
cool.
이걸 왜 문제 삼지 않지?
Now that I've saved your life from LA Mall.
왜 사람들이 왜 이거 먼저 고치려 하지 않는 거지? 거기에 오는 답답함인 것 같은 게 생겨요. 근데 문제는 뭐냐면 본인이 절대 혼자 그거 생각하고 있는 게 아니라 이미 많은 분들이 그 전에 이미 관련된 이야기를 했어.
I mean, I don't want to say surprisingly
관련된 비슷한 답변들도 많이 나왔다는
거를
그때 그걸 생각하는 사람은 몰라.
I mean, there's a
관심이
lot
없어.
of work
왜냐면 자기가
left, right?
찾아내는 그 문제점을 고치기 위해서 자기는 최선을 다하고 있다고 생각하고.
And it wasn't a complete meltdown, which is always a good thing.
매년 매분 매초에 반복돼.
You know, the team is working really hard to try to hit potentially a patch soon with crafting, which you know, I really believe that crafting is such a big step for Star Citizen as a whole. You know, it's just it will be a different game with the crafting system in place, and so the work that those teams are doing right now to bring this to life is incredible. I think that we're leveraging the technology that we have to, you know,
자기 생각에는 제작 시스템 들어오는 게 게임을 진짜 통째적으로 바꿀 정도로 큰 빅 스텝이라고 생각한다.
So far, the first tech preview has been surprisingly solid and a success.
첫 버전의 크래프팅이 지금 생각했던 것보다 훨씬 더 안정적이고 잘 돌아간다고 하네요.
You know, try to see.
우리도 테스트 좀 해보자.
And you can't have crafting without the inventory rework.
Correct. That's right.
And that I rarely ask a question I don't know the answer to already. The inventory rework is in the same tech preview, right?
I don't think it was.
Because if you can't, so you can't have crafting without the inventory rework. The tech preview for crafting doesn't.
인벤토리 리워크 같이 하고 있냐?
They can be.
It would just be really bad.
Exactly. It's more from a game design point of view. But the inventory work is going really well.
인벤토리 리워크랑 크래프팅이 같이 나올 수도 있고 안 나올 수도 있고 이건 모르겠다.
On the original concept, right?
네, 인벤토리 리워크 자체도 잘 되고 있다고 합니다.
Like that, so that's
잘 되고 있는 게 뭔지 모르겠지만.
When does that go into tech preview?
We're hoping very soon because, like, at this point,
인벤토리 리워크도
version
테스트 very soon이라는데.
And so we just really want to solve one thing. This is one, and you say quality of life. Like if I have a third one.
얘들이 인벤토리 리워크 관련돼서 딱 하나만 더 고치고 싶은데 그게 지금 안 고쳐지고 있다.
The speed of rendering of icons in the inventory. Right.
스피드 뭐?
And so, like right now, you open your inventory and there's always a moment where it's rendering RTT, like the render to texture icons for each of those. In case you don't know, this is a full 3D scene that gets rendered flat right there. Like we have versions of this in previous concepts where it's full 3D. It's super nice, but
takes forever to load.
The user experience is not great, right? And no matter the amount of work we're going to put on the UI and the functionality of inventory, the speed of the UI is really a thing that we need to improve. And so that's the part that we're still iterating on now. We've done massive improvements, but there's still, we need to dial that in perfectly, because that's the part we really want to solve.
But you feel good about it?
I feel good about it. Yeah, absolutely.
여러분들 저도 몇 번 설명했고 했지만
4.7 in
새로 나오는 인벤토리 시스템은 존보이드랑 비슷한 시스템이라는 거 알고 있죠?
Don't put the camera when he says that you gotta put the camera on him.
접근 가능한 모든 아이템과 박스들에 있는 인벤토리에 다 보이는 클릭하면서 다 볼 수 있는 다 인터랙션 되는 그런 시스템이기 때문에 이게 사실 서버 안 좋거나
This is live, baby. No small text. And so, if inventory rework is 4.7, I'm not going to push you on crafting. It's a super complicated thing or whatever. But
I mean, the teams are working really hard.
싱글 게임이 아니다 보니까 렉이 엄청나게 발생할 거야.
For that launch window,
we're pushing really hard for that launch window.
아무튼 지금 중요한 거는 지금 말하는 어투로 정확하게 얘기 다 했지만요. 4.7 버전의 크래프팅과 인벤토리 리어커를 내려고 노력하고 있는 거예요. 그렇게 암시하고 있어요.
And it's in line with what I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen. So I won't correct you on that or whatever.
We don't know what surprises are ahead. Right? Yeah. But yeah.
So keep tech previewing. Keep tech previewing,
exactly.
Yep. And for your part, keep logging into the tech previews and keep testing. I cannot stress this enough. The more involved folks are in those things, the more likely we are to be able to deliver them.
And the feedback is really key. Yeah.
Most of the feedback's okay. Some of it's trash, to be completely honest. Small amount of it. It's just what? Hey.
It is what it is.
Hey.
갑자기 내 테크 풀리고 시작하는 거 아니에요?
How's instancing going?
Very good. We actually had a summit this week about instancing, about getting all of the levels set up to support it. At this point, so maybe I can do a quick recap on what we've discussed in instancing before. So we talked about server meshing. So instancing is basically an additional system on top of server meshing, which allows us to take an area of space and give it to a server in the mesh to manage, right? Doesn't matter which one. The geographical, if I want, the spatial position of this thing doesn't matter, right? So for example, when you go to your hangar right now, that is an instance, right? So what we're doing is we're taking this system that manages and we're making a true instance manager with it. So
진정한 인스턴싱 매니저 시스템을 만들고 있다고 하는데 진정한 건 지금 가짜예요.
What that provides is the mechanism for creating an instance that is associated with you or your party, and having rules for how many this instance is made for how many players, enforcing player caps and party caps for that instance, managing the life cycle of the instance. So we want go back to my WoW days. Maybe that's dated now, but like your Molten Core instance lives for 10 days, right? So the instance manager is in charge of doing that. So that system's in place now. And so the teams are currently working at how the entrance to the instance is going to work, right? So, well, we know how it's going to work, but like how it ties into level. So level designers put in, an entranceway.
Right.
At what point are you crossing the boundary? What brings you to the instance? What brings you out? Transport is a requirement for instancing. So just ties into all the discussion we just had. Like transit cannot bring you to an instance, but transport can.
Okay.
So basically we want to power that up there. So you can imagine an area of space that you walk into through a SAS or an elevator.
3월달에 제작이랑 인벤토리 리워크가 나올 가능성이 상당히 높아요.
You never see the loading screen.
Demarcations.
얘네들 얘기에 따르면.
Now you're inside the instance. You play inside the instance. You can gather items, inventories, whatever, boss fights,
3월 초나 2월
and you can
말에
exit through another transit
오픈
link,
BTO
and
하지
you're back in the world.
So if we do this right, you should never be aware. that you know. We might have to put some kind of indicator on there because of like raid locks or whatever. We talked about municipal works, you know, and like this. So there might have to be some UI stuff that to tell you that.
Yeah, some screens will show you like, oh, you can't enter this because
but from an experience, we're not. There's no load screen. There's no hold on, please wait. We're transferring you to you know whatever. Exactly. Like you see, it's just you're going to go and suddenly the world around you is going to melt away, and you will be in a section of the universe that is dedicated entirely to you and your party.
Exactly, to play it, right? And then, you know, we're also talking about at the moment how the instance manager responds to the mission system, because we might want to be able to change what level you're going into when you pass the threshold or things like that. And so, or the access rights, right? So if you think back, man, I keep going back to WoW. This sucks. But whatever. In the good old WoW days, you know, you need to do lower Blackrock Spire, and at some point, someone has a key. That's the requirement that unlocks upper Blackrock Spire. Well, we're thinking about mechanics in that vein that allow the mission system to lock or unlock or the access rights to an instance. And so all of this is currently being managed, but it's going really well. Most of the networking capabilities that we needed have been added already. So one of them is that currently when you go to an instance, the way the server actually tracks that is we put a flag on your character that enables you to stream in your hangar and actually view your hangar when you go there. And we remove that flag when you leave it or when you go elsewhere when the hangar is removed. And so in the code up to now, we only had the ability for a single one of those on your character. So we could only give you access to one instance. But we need to be able to give you access to multiple instances, because we might have areas of transit that cross like one instance to another instance, things like that. We're going a bit deep with this, but at the moment those mechanics are ready, so the networking bit is done. So now we're really about crafting the first experience that we want to do in instancing.
And the first instance content will be Siege of Orison. We announced that.
Redux.
Siege of Orison. That's a France.
Yeah.
That's scheduled to come online. We talked about it during CitizenCon Direct. That's one of the content drops that are scheduled for this year.
Yeah.
Basically everything we've been talking more about a schedule than I probably intended at the beginning of this thing. But everything you saw
talk about stuff.
Sorry, everything that you saw at CitizenCon Direct last year is scheduled for 2026. So, and we announced at the beginning of the year with the first ISC that we've now moved to a bi-monthly. That's once every 2 months. For those who like homonyms, I'm not above recycling a joke. Content thing. So if you know the first one was in January. We've already stated the second one's in March. The third one will be in May. There's always a patch in May for very important reasons. So forth and so forth. So when you it's one of those things where when you look at the content for CitizenCon Direct, you can sort of start to reverse engineer where things go. I'm not going to tell you. I'm saying you've got the tools. You've got the tools. You can pretty much kind of gather where everything is going to be. And I'd like to see your schedules. And that's just content. That's just the content stuff, because that's really what we talked about at Citizen.
I can tell you, like, from being with the team this week, working on instancing, everybody's like super stoked. Like it's like the energy is really high on like, oh man, you know how you enter it, how you exit it, what gameplay is going to be in it. There's also a big piece of this, which is like some designers, you know, in this case, can design an experience that is repeatable. Most of the content we've produced this year was, you know, there's a PvE experience for it, but it's fundamentally in a PvP zone. So that is giving them those tools to make something that's fun and repeatable as an experience. And I mean, I just the energy is really good.
Nope. Now, chat's like, Squadron 42, whatever. I ain't talking about Squadron 42. I made one very plain-spoken, reasonable comment about Squadron 42 the last time we got together, and it got press articles. So I ain't saying nothing. I'm talking about Star Citizen.
스타시티즌 얘기할 거야.
Star Citizen.
이렇게.
Star Citizen.
Where we at?
I want to inject something.
Inject?
I want to inject something.
Okay, let's go.
Something we haven't talked about. It came from the chat. It came from the chat. Regional servers.
Yeah.
Regional servers. We have never had a conversation
about
in any way, shape, or form about regional servers. I was there in the chat and whatnot. I think I'm going to put you on the spot.
What are they asking?
It just says regional servers when. Just what can we do to help the people who play in the various regions of the world have a better experience? Is that the answer? I guess what I'm asking is regional servers the answer, or or are we going towards something else different that I've literally never
I don't know in this case if they're asking for what I think they are, but let's talk about regions.
Okay.
So we already have regions, right? So when you play the game, you can pick one of the global availability regions that we service. So obviously the US, North America is one. The Europe is one. We have East Asia, Australia. I forget the other ones, but I think we have another one. So typically we look at user data, right? And if an area reaches critical mass, right, at some point, then it's worth it to deploy shards there. So and have shards hosted in that region. So we do it like between US and EU. Obviously, they share our common backend. So your inventory system is hosted in one central area, but then the actual game servers you're playing on for latency reasons is going to be closer to your area. Right now, we are revisiting our region kind of distribution for a couple of reasons. Like we've done some pretty large, without naming any details here, but we're in the process of doing some pretty large migrations. In how we host the game. So there's even if it's a bit transparent, there's a lot of changes happening there. And so we are revisiting our region map. Typically, the way that we've done this is we look at player data, and if we reach critical mass in an area, then it's worth it to start deploying some shards there. But it needs to be more than one, right? Because deploying one shard in one area is problematic because there are cases where a shard goes into trouble for some reason, and before a hotfix actually deploy, that shard is no longer usable. So we need to have, it needs a critical mass to be able to go there. Yeah, exactly, a proper cluster size to be able to get there.
And the short version of that is you're currently undergoing conversations about where.
Yeah, we're looking at that because we've done some changes, so we have access to more regions than we used to. So we're looking at that, but I can't promise any changes. Again, it's completely based on player using the service.
So during the key bindings conversation, every once in a while I'll check Teams just to see if I still have a job during the shows. Which is another joke I get accused of making quite often and repeatedly, but it isn't a joke. I really do Jeffrey Prees, I had an R there. Bearded CIG.
What did Bearded CIG say?
He sent me a JIRA for key bindings. Exporting custom key binds to XML doesn't export all settings.
2013 or what?
But he's just sending me JIRAs now. I don't know what you think I'm going to do with this, but thank you. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Bearded. I haven't talked to Jeff in a while.
That's actually a guy we should talk about if we were going to reevaluate the regions. Maybe get him on the show next.
You want to talk about Jeff? Let's talk about Jeff. He can't do anything about it. We know he's watching.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you think is hiding behind that beard?
I don't know.
We're in the final stretch. We're in the final stretch. We only have a handful of topics.
He does have a big beard. That's not a joke. He's not called Bearded for anything.
VR kind of came out of. I mean, it's one of those things we've been talking about it. We talk about it here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. We've talked about a lot of things over the years. I mean, we've talked about a lot of things.
We used to have VR in 2014. I say a bit air quotes. Air quotes.
That's like saying I'm a baseball player because I've played. I played a couple of Little League games.
VR 시스템은 아직까지
너무
a
long time ago.
I
think it was
Oculus. VR 장비를 모든 사람이 갖고 있는 것도 아니고.
This is what was supported.
저도 아직 3번 45 minutes and ended up in the fetal position for the next 3 hours.
엄청 다르다고 하던데.
VR is not for me. I want to preface this by saying VR is not for me. But it's for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's for a lot of people. And at the end of last year, surprise, not a fully blown or fully cooked, fully developed feature like we would normally refer to them. Some how do we refer to it? An experimental feature of VR.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? What's going on? And do it without saying the word Santa, Sylvan.
No, sure. Yeah. Well, so there are a lot of developers at CIG that really like immersive experience and work, right? And so there's a contingent of developers, also one specific one that have been really trying to get the Star Engine to properly support VR. And so, as an experiment and to build that, these guys and Sylvanen specific has been really pushing hard to try to get Star Engine to work in VR. Experimented with multiple different approaches, over the last couple of months. Settled on the OpenXR approach, and was actually able, through his own passion and then support from his other colleagues, right, to get stuff fixed so that we could support VR in specific cases. And so
VR는 저는 크게 관심 없어요.
that's how we decided at some point, hey, you know what,
물리적
this is actually
버튼들은
pretty
엄청
cool.
게임들이 많이 구현했기 때문에
Let's release it.
날이
Right?
갈수록
We have
VR
a
장비
unique chance
자체로만
at
플레이할 수
CIG
있는
to
가능성이 높아지긴
be able to work on
하겠지만
a custom engine and
애초에 나는 방송해야
working on
되는데
custom technology. And so
그냥 VR 책 같은 건
encouraging that effort, we
버튜버도
decided
아니고
to release an experimental mode to
스타시티즌은
see, hey, let's see if
방송을
people like
VR로
it.
제공한다?
I mean, the response has been
이거 안 해봤는데 해볼까?
pretty
언젠가 한번
impressive overall.
시도해볼까? 뭐 아무튼
I think that it's the results that we're able to get in VR are a testament to some of
VR로
the
방송할
decisions
거면 VR 챗처럼
over the
카메라
years that
시야를
were
제공할 수 있는
taken
디바이스를 나한테
and how
줘야
the
돼.
game
게임
has
내에서.
been made. And so
근데 그런 거 없으니까
there's a lot of
VR
little things
방송은 거의
that just
불가능했거든요.
shine when you
카메라
now put
모양
VR
화면
headset
두
on.
개가 그냥
that,
방송에 나갈 수
You know,
없잖아요.
maybe if you're playing just on a PC, you're not going to appreciate as much. But
그러니까 지금 저한테는 되게 먼 나라 이야기.
I'm going to go
제가
Chris
VR을
Roberts here, but
직접적으로
Chris,
방송할 일은
always insisted on
진짜
taking the difficult
먼
approaches to
미래에
build
있을
certain
만한
features,
일인 것 같아요.
right?
아직까지는
There's a lot of things we're like, we could have done simpler on this one, but we did the hard road and we actually delivered it. And so now when you put the VR headset on, well, you've got reverse IP in the seat.
만약
It's
리뷰를 찍는다
the
해도 VR로
kind of thing that now all these decisions have paid
그러니까
off in
랩터랑
these
오로라
pain in the
리뷰
ass in 2017.
Yeah.
When poor Evo was on it, and now so many years later, it's like, oh,
yeah,
that part was plug and play because of it.
Yeah, and I mean, even internally, the arrival of VR, even before the experimental mode was shipped, was tremendous. Like I spent a couple of hours here around our VR rigs next to my sim rigs with the ship team. I'm like, I want to see my ship in VR. Let's go. And because designing for VR is a bit different, like sense of space changes and whatever. So that's really truly an experimental mode that we've been pushing. Obviously, there's a lot more people around Sylvain to help him out and get this there. But I think that this is a testament to kind of the technical framework that we have at CIG that allows that kind of effort to not go unnoticed and kind of show up in the game.
Chat's currently arguing about whether VR is a low priority or high priority and stuff like this.
The priority at this point doesn't matter because it's an experimental mode.
Yep.
It's a bit like eye tracking. It's a bit like all of these side projects, right? Like head tracking, eye tracking.
It's not an initiative on the same scale as the inventory rework or as crafting. It's not a full initiative. It has not taken a priority over something else.
Exactly.
I've only got a couple more questions for you, and they're kind of the big ones. And yes, people, it's about the thing that you want us to talk about. We're saving it for the end. I've been doing this for a while. I want to take a few questions from the chat right now before we get to it because we're actually doing okay on time here.
All right.
Is the inventory rework, is it just UI, or will it actually apply any additional functionality to stacking and unstacking and stuff like that?
There's additional functionality, but obviously the big of the groundwork was the UI, usability. But if you look at the mock-ups, right, you also see equipment. So it's not just inventory; it's actually equipment plus assignment on your character. So the paper doll approach. There's also some other elements like proximity inventories that are part of that, which are pretty large functionality-wise, and I think will have an impact. So it's not just UI. There's a lot more client architecture also. The way the UI pulls the data, caches the data, and displays it.
More Twitch drops. There will be more Twitch drops this year. Already in that. Yes to medical. Why didn't Levski mold situation have us rescuing NPCs with medical ships? We'll talk about that in 2 weeks when we've got Elliot and Torsten on the show here. We'll talk about that whole event and stuff. So we'll save that question for them so they can speak about their own work. When Nix won this year.
When Nix won this year.
That's something that got me in trouble. One thing I hope, and it got articles. CRG spokesperson says he hopes this will be whatever. I'm like, oh yeah. Let's see. There was one more. There was one more. I can't find it. There was one more question I want to sneak in before the questions that are already on here. All right. This section is called Final Hot Seat Stuff.
Final Hot Seat.
I just read Final Hot Stuff.
You missed a word.
마지막에 제 핫한 걸 넣고 보여주고 싶었다고 하는데.
Things that are happening in the game today.
핫한 거 맞아?
Economy exploits. Economy exploits, and if you're watching the show and you're wondering why I'm talking about economy exploits, it's because I'm going to get to the next question that you've got, the question you've had the whole time. So.
와이프?
Yeah.
Let's talk about the economy exploits.
Sure.
경제 관련된.
What's happening?
There are exploits.
돈 복사요.
Well, so in terms of the economy in general, right? There's a couple. I think we're up to 7 or 8 right now. So first of all, we have a strike team on this at the moment, right? Looking at all these
경제 시스템 돈 복사, 물건 복사 관련된 스트라이크 팀도 있대요. 스트라이크 팀 엄청 많대.
Potentially duping. Ways to earn rewards you're not supposed to have.
I think we're beyond potentially.
No. Well, yeah.
Okay, fair.
And so we're looking at all these exploit vectors, right, to fix them. Obviously, that needs to be prioritized. The big conversation that was spawned from that is like, we're a game in development, but we're also delivering a live service, right? And so we don't have a framework for this. In that internally, we don't. When we get exploit reports, we don't necessarily automatically prioritize them. So the conversation that was spawned was like, okay, well, there are going to be exploits, right? Every game has a series of exploits for its entirety of its life, right? No game has no exploits. And so the question is more, how do you respond for it, right? And so historically, exploits have always taken a lower priority.
지금까지 스타시티즌이 게임 내에서
I'm going to jump in. You're tense switching between past and present. I want to be clear. You're talking about the past right now. He's tense switching a couple of times. It makes it sound like he's talking about today. It's like this. We're talking about the past.
In the past, right? Exploits would fall. The debugs like any other.
Right? 돈을 불린다든지 이런 거에 대해서 제재라든지 이런 게 없잖아요.
But we didn't have a
근데 그 이유가 내부적 정책이
So now the
없었대요.
conversation is about when we do get an exploit report, how do we deal with it? Like, how do we escalate it? How do we respond to it? How do we deal with it? Right? And so for the current ongoing exploits that we know about that have
정식 출시한
a
게임이 아니다
damaging effect on the
보니
economy,
관련해서
currently
운영
we're
정책 같은 게 없었다는
dealing with them the same way we've dealt with the other hero strike teams. And so we're looking at each one of them and confirming the fixes, right? Because sometimes, you fix an exploit, there's a second vector right away. So those are complicated fixes sometimes. So we're dealing with these things right away. But the big thing that also this puts in light is that even a minor exploit at the moment has a very large effect on the economy because there are many limits that are not in place. And so at the moment, we're also looking at overall economy design and limits around, selling, inventory capacity, exchange limits, ongoing active tracking of player trades and or large purchases, things like that. Now we want to make clear that we want the economy to be fun and movable, but we also need some protectionism behind it. And so that's what we're looking at the moment. Now I don't have all the solutions. I didn't write them down or show them out, but this is the spirit that we're in at the moment on these economy exploits.
You're being very diplomatic about something. I want to point out some of the struggle with talking about this.
Yeah.
we can't
tell you how we're going to fix it.
We can't tell you we can't tell people what we're doing.
Yes.
Because every single let's back this up a bit. So an exploit exists. Whatever timeline you want, we'll just make it simple. We'll make it real simple and do days for the point of conversation. Exploit exists on day 0. And day 1, it comes to our attention. By day 2, we figured out what's causing it. We cause it. On day 3, we could fix it potentially depending on the severity length, but we don't automatically do that because there's stuff to be learned by leaving in certain cases. We find more information out about who's doing it. We find where it's coming from. About other vectors, we found like any bug. Okay, we found this cause, but sometimes there's 5 other causes for every bug. So you find this cause of the exploit, but maybe there's 4 other causes for that same exploit, and if we patch this one up right now, we may hide the other ones and we won't discover them for much later. It's like this. There's this incredible dance that I get to sit here and watch.
Sure.
I get to sit here and watch you guys do. Occasionally, I speak up with a thing, and you're very kind to humor me here and there from time to time. But I get to watch you and the player experience team and your programmers and everybody involved do this amazing dance of finding these things and researching these things and working out how they happen. And we can't, it's one of those things, we come here on a show and I want to talk about it. And we were talking about this last night, but we can't go through all the methodologies. We can't discuss all the solutions because then knowledge is power. And if they know what we're doing, then they can run around it. It's this incredible dance that is frustrating, and it can often look like we're sitting on our hands doing absolutely nothing.
That's right.
And that's an unfortunate, frustrating side effect of the proper way to do this.
Yeah. Well, every time it touches security, anti-cheat, economy, exploits, it falls in that. Yeah. It's going to fall into that area where we can't be as transparent as we'd like to be.
And they're saying it in chat now, and they're not wrong. Like cheats and exploits have sunk so many games.
Yeah.
We have to get a hold on them. We have to get a handle on them. We have to fix them and whatnot. And again, but it's this dance. It can't always be right away. It's one of the things that Alpha affords us. It's we take the time to make sure that we do it right. Take the time to make sure we research. Take the time to actually finding all the bad actors and blah blah blah. It's just at the same time, it's annoying because you want to go to Reddit, you want to go to Spectrum, you want to go to Twitter or whatnot, and just scream, "We're on it, we're doing it," whatever. But you can't tip your hat anything. You can't. It's because every.
Well, I put my eyes emoji sometimes on stuff on Spectrum. Just
you can't say we're actively chasing this one because then the people who are using it scatter and we don't find them and stuff like this.
Exactly.
So it's one of the hardest aspects of game development communication, especially for a project like us that prides itself on being as open as we are. People will be like, open development, I can't believe you're not telling us. That doesn't mean it's open. Like, open development means we're more open than any other company in the history of the medium. It doesn't mean we share every single thing every single moment the minute it comes out. I do sometimes and I get in trouble. But it's really difficult.
It's a difficult balancing act for sure.
It's terrible because there's been so many moments when I want to go out and scream, "We got this! We're on it! We're doing this! It's fixed!" But we just can't. You can't because it makes it harder. It makes it harder to do.
Well, yeah, and you're gonna miss things. That's the main thing.
But
hey, can we flip seats for a second? Because you just grilled me for what? How long have we been going for now?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah. I have one question that I want to switch seats for. You ready for it?
You want to ask me a question?
I want to ask you a question. I want to grill you on one, at least one.
I can see you looking at your laptop like you got notes. All right. What do you?
I have my note question right here.
What do you have for me, Manuel?
So, is the battle cruiser actually happening? Oh, that thing actually going?
네가 니한테 질문을
Whiplash.
해?
just whiplash. What does that have to do with anything?
You know, yeah, it's whiplash. Let's go.
Let me see if I'm being yelled at already.
Yeah, check this out. Do 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 do.
All right, I am not.
Where are you doing, Jared?
I am not actively being yelled at.
Good.
Yes, the battle cruiser is coming.
오. 커밍인데 컨셉 판매잖아, 근데.
It's a tried and true manufacturer. Not one of these new hotness manufacturers. One of the older manufacturers of verse. And it sure. And I did say this last time, so this is not new information. Manufacturer thing is new information, but our big giant military combat themed event that we do every year around May is probably a pretty good time to expect it. And it will be and as we said before, it is our intention to make it the last concept we do. We made it through 2025 without a concept, without a single concept promotion. We do not have a single concept promotion scheduled for 2026 other than this battlecruiser. We don't have a single concept promotion scheduled for 2027. This will be the last one. It's an old Kickstarter thing.
Yeah.
And so
it's happening.
It's happening. We're going forward. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it now. But yeah. So, okay.
Is it big?
You got anything more? That it? You get your one out?
Is it big?
얘기하는 어투가 두 개밖에 없거든요.
It's very
정통의
very,
오래된
very
군용 브랜드가 두 개, 에지스랑
That's all I
MB고.
got.
That's all I'm going to
RFI는 좀 민감해서.
So, just sneak it right in there. Just piece of shit. That's my one for the show. All right, then fine. Wipe.
와이프 이제
Wipe.
We were doing so good.
Wipe. I held them off. Wipe.
Right. So, okay. We're not planning a wipe. We're planning.
Good night, everybody.
We're planning.
하드디스 준비.
So we're looking at targeted actions, right? But we're not looking at a wipe for the moment. And so we want to keep on rolling. First of all, there's a lot of, some of the work we've discussed. Obviously, I can't share the details of what we're doing, but that needs to be
목표를
completed.
잡아서 목표를
So
잡고
for
있는
now,
중이다.
we're not
특정
intending a full
목표를
blanket
잡고 있다.
wipe.
이거 뭐 유저야?
This goes back to what we were saying before about the biggest quality
계정이야?
of life thing. All this work going in to long-term persistence and to item recovery V1 and stuff. It's about the freight elevator. It's about making sure you keep your stuff.
Yeah.
Making sure you keep your stuff. Making sure you keep your stuff. Making sure you keep your stuff.
계정들 이상한 거 찾아가지고
we've got tools. We've got
거기만
logs.
와이프 때릴 수
We've got
있다는
A lot of logs.
We got a lot of logs. We got a lot of information. So it is our intention to do a targeted correction to those areas that
Are
need it
problematic.
and preserve as much of the
목표에
gotten gains of the everyday Star Citizen as possible.
Exactly.
So no blanket wipe.
That's right.
아 전체 하드디스크 생각 안 하고 있고.
So we've answered that. That's done.
목표를 지정을 찾아서 로그를 뒤져서 찾아서 야 나 무섭다 지금. 야 반장 야나 돈 야 내 돈 가져갈 사람.
Just hit me with a battle cruiser. I got a message. Hold on. Where's that? I skipped it. Was the battle cruiser mentioned in SCL just now? Planned. Lol. Planned by somebody.
Whoa.
All right. No comments. No comments about the size other than it's big. It's
근데
big.
이건 현실적으로 힘들 거라 이게 맞는데 현실적으로 힘들 거라 봤거든요. 근데 샤 이제 갖고 있는 이번에 좀 이양 불었나.
That's it. Oh no.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
Tell me something we don't know about. Tell me something we should be excited about that we're not currently excited about.
흥분해야 되는데 우리가 잘 모르는 거 얘기해봐.
Give us something nobody's
하는 거 어떻게
expecting.
하는지도 몰라요.
That's hard. You're putting me on the spot now.
I'm putting you on the spot, Mister. Is the backers are coming?
그때 우리 땅바닥에 막 떨궈서 그랬던 적 있지. 그거 한 번 해본 것뿐이지. 우리가 악용한 거 아니야.
One thing we didn't talk about in detail that I could give background info on is Genesis.
Okay.
And Nix1, right?
Okay.
Nix1.
So, I mean, we're obviously working on this. That's no surprise to anyone. But the one thing that I'm excited about is that we've kind of conjoined development on 3 separate things in order to ship the best Nix experience that we could offer, right? And so, obviously, Genesis is part of that, and the Planet Tech that's behind it. But also, the Starchitect work. And so, for those who don't know, Starchitect is a way for us to be smarter about building planets and the human populations that are on them. So settlements, buildings, distro centers, LZs, name it, right? So historically, we've placed that by hand. And so Starchitect is a way for us to give designers control over the planetary scale of how these are distributed. And it's a fairly fundamental change to how the game is made.
관련된 스타테크
And
같은
the third one is what we call the population control / population manager.
디자이너가
currently you have
현재
AIs
우리
in the
현재
game
개발자가 알아서 일일이 손으로
sometimes
건물을
hand placed,
집어넣고 있었다면
sometimes
행성에다가
dynamically spawned.
그게 아니라 그
We've talked
행성
about
컨셉과 디자인에 맞춰서
Racket
알아서
that's hitting the spawn button.
건물들이랑
Yeah,
도시들이
which is
마을
my biggest
같은
pet
게
peeve, by the way. If you wanna,
배치되고
that's my trigger
Rackets.
point. If you want to trigger me
인구수가 알아서
in a
맞춰지고
meeting,
이런
just tell me
시스템을
there's another overspawn
만들고
issue.
있다고
But anyway, so population management and control is a third component of this. So I'm excited about this because as we're working towards Nix1, we're aligning all those 3 things into one strike team to deliver that together. So I'm excited about that because those are like 3 major development pieces that Star Citizen needs to scale that we're bringing in together. So for pop control, instead of having all these either hand-placed or dynamically spawned AIs in key areas, that's a system that will basically manage the server capacity of AI agents to be able to distribute them at the right place, but also spawn the right AIs for the right jobs, manage the priority of these spawn requests, all that stuff. And so it's such a much more scalable system that will allow us to really like build up a dense universe than we've had before. So I'm excited about the fact that those 3 projects are part of the same kind of drive at the moment. That's the first thing I would say that you guys don't know about that we're going to bring together. The second one, I mean, there are some hints of this in the game already. So I know some of the techies look into the game client, try to find some stuff. I'm not going to go into more details about this, but we talked about sim rigs. We talked about how the experience in the sim rig is. So VR is a great thing if you have a sim rig, right? Obviously, having the headset on is such a more dense experience. We're also working at improving our peripheral support, so being able to feed information, non-damaging information to peripheral manufacturers, so be able to enable them to make custom Star Citizen experience for the sim rigs. And also we're currently in the process of looking at motion and motion platform support for the game. And so I think that's something we haven't talked about specifically, but I'm mega excited about it because
opening up the API.
Opening up basically the motion systems to be able to leverage
motion
that.
System API
so I think that's something that I'm super excited about because that's just another level.
There's that new Corsair keyboard that's got the Stream Deck built into it and stuff like that, and like this.
So those would be my 2.
Anything for player facing for in game?
Something new.
Something. I know about something. We're treating this like it's a big thing. It's not. We just did the big thing, but spawning.
Oh, yeah.
Spawning.
Changes to spawning.
Well, so we talked about spawn in the hangar, right? And so to build spawning hangar, we had to build a new workflow, right? To be able to determine, can we spawn you there? Is there a requirement for you spawning there, right? So the requirement in the case of spawning hangar is your hangar spawned, right? That's also extended to ships, right? But what we're trying to achieve now I'm not promising this anywhere, but is spawn in place. And so we're trying to extend that workflow for spawn in place so that, you know, you just log in the game and you spawn where you were. And so that's something that we're passionate about. We're trying to get in there. So,
log in, log out,
bam on it.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Not a, you know, you have a bed in a ship, you haven't, you don't have a bed in a ship. Yeah. You just wherever you are, get out, correct. Get back in, come back right there.
Yeah. So. Surface of a planet, you know, spawn in place. Yeah. As long as you can still spawn there.
CIG 목표는 그거예요.
There's going to be rules
and
limitations, but we're looking into that.
또 일반적인 다른 게임처럼.
That is also a big change for the game to me.
Yes.
That's a huge change. Yeah.
Just
당장 나올
I'm happy you raised that up. I was going to forget about it.
I got you, baby. All right, and at that, we managed. It's 4:57. We're right there. At the
end. Right on time.
What do they say at the end of Hot Ones? You know, tell everybody give everybody your socials. Tell everybody where they can find you when you do next.
I mean, I guess here in over many months.
We're here until the
정리가
heat death of the universe.
아는 이야기 위주로 해야 되면 내가 아는 게 꼭 여러분 모든 사람들이 아는 거 아니에요.
Thank you as always for coming back. We're doing these about every 6 months. It's what we agreed when we did this.
Kind of a rendezvous about a year ago. Right?
Yeah,
it's a good rendezvous.
And so we'll see it. We'll see you again sometime this summer.
Yeah,
probably.
Sure. Absolutely.
I just want to say, you know, it's this is our first SCL back. It's actually our first SCL since IAE. We did the all ships Q&A, and then we didn't get to do a whole lot of SCLs last year because of a whole bunch of other changes that was going on, mostly in my life. We're gonna have a lot more SCLs this year. We got a group of like 4 in a row coming in like April, I think. Whatever. The chance to have somebody at your level and your involvement
이번 라이브가
take the time out,
작년 엑스포 때 했던 한번 라이브 이후로 처음이에요.
Answer quite literally any question I put you. You didn't beg off of anything. You didn't do this. So I spent the part giving the tech teams their props and the programmers their props and the strike team their props, and then I want to sit here and give you your props. Thank you so much for being here. Far more than I will give Jens, who won't come on the show.
It's a rendezvous now. That's it.
I
appreciate it.
I love the Jens.
I love coming here and chatting about Star Citizen.
가끔씩 이런 거 보고 있으면 좀 내가 아쉬운 게 뭐냐면 전 세계 언어가 그냥 한 나라 언어로 통일되었으면 좋았겠다.
What is in the orange box? So that was at the beginning of the show on the Twitch version. It won't be on the YouTube version.
모든 세계 사람들이
but that's just toys. It has nothing to do with it.
문제 없이 이런 말들 다 알아서 서로 알아듣는 그런 AI가 그걸 가능하게 만들었는데
Thanks for watching, everybody. We're back next week with a behind the ships special on the next spacecraft making its way to the Star Citizen universe.
John Crew going to be there.
John Crew's in there, and Ben Curtis is in there, and Torsten Lyman is in there, and some other people, because I'm not really good with names, whatever. The second I started calling out names, I knew it was a mistake. Chris Danks is in there. So, who? Batu's in this one? Yeah. I filmed with Batu? Yeah. He's great. Yeah. Wow, they really run together. Sorry, everybody. But yeah, that's next week. An exciting new spaceship Mon making its way to the persistent universe next week in those little middle things. We talked about it in ISC, the big patches in January and March and May, and stuff like this, and then these interesting little content drops in the middle. So we're going to add a new ship in the middle of a patch drop, and for the first time in the history of our project, see how that goes.
Let's do it.
Let's get it. There's a press article.
It should work.
So thanks for watching. I'm Jared. That's Benoit. You're the amazing Star Citizen community. What are you doing with the cameras? Oh my God. Seb. I love you.
큐다.
See you later, everybody. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
제라드 형 열심히 하고 있으니까요. 아무튼 그렇습니다. 라이브 방송. 뭐 거의 80%의 이야기가 작년 시티즌권에서 우리한테 다 알려줬던 이야기 했어요. 뭐 새로운 건 그렇게 없었어요. 근데 뭐 그래도 그러니까 갑자기 연초에 우리가 그 말했던 거 중에 아 이거는 왠지 못할 것 같아 이런 말은 전혀 안 했어요. 그래가지고 오히려 확신 뭔데 몰라 또 어떻게 할지 모르겠는데 내가 근데 작년 했던 거 봐서는 뭐 그럴 것 같지 않은데 근데 아무튼 확신을 가지고 작년 시티즌콘에서 보여줬던 영상에서 보여줬던 모든 것들이 다 올해 내로 출시 준비하고 있다 라고 이제 그렇게 생각하시면 됩니다. 네. 다만 이제 시기적으로 봤을 때 4.7 버전의 크래프팅이랑 인벤토리 리워크 들어올 가능성이 매우 높아졌고요. 이상 소리 들리는데 게임 켜놔서. 그리고 이제 배틀크루저는 이제 스타시티즌 마지막 컨셉 함선으로 이제 판매를 할 건데 이지스 아니면 엔빌사의 함선인 걸로 이제 추측되고 예측되고 개인적으로 엔빌이었으면 좋겠네요. 그래서 당장 지금 다음 주 월요일 화요일부터 에보카티 아이템 인벤토리 리워크 테스팅 시작한다고 하네. 테크퓨리브 서버로. 왜 에보카티만 하지? 우리도 하자. 같이 하자. 오픈으로 해라. 아무튼 그렇게 한다 하고 2월 달에 올해 초에 공지했듯이 뭐 메이저 패치는 안 하는데 뭐 함선 릴리즈 같은 건 하는 그런 형태로 게임을 개발한다고 하니까 2월 달에 아마 그 아르고 변종 셀비징 함선 출시할 것 같고 당장 다음 주에 IFC 영상을 통해서 이제 비하인드 쉽 탑 토픽으로 이제 영상을 만들어서 새로운 함선들 혹은 기존에 제작하고 있는 함선들 관련된 이야기들도 이제 보여줄 예정인가 봅니다. 그래서 제가 보기에는 뭐 물론 아르고 그 신규 셀비징 함선이 제 메인이긴 할 것 같은데 다음 주 영상은 근데 오늘 제가 월간 레프트를 읽어봤는데요. 그 해머헤드 골드 스탠다드가 끝났대요. 완성됐대요. 그렇게 적혀 있었거든요. 아직 출시 안 했잖아요. 그래가지고 그거를 언제 출시할지 모르겠는데 그것도 혹시 몰라 2월달 출시 내용 중에 하나일 수도 있어요. 그래가지고 그런 거는 이제 다음 주에 한번 확인을 해보도록 하고요. 일단은 원래 오늘 사실 월간 레프트 보려고 방송 킨 건데 라이브를 먼저 보긴 했는데 월간 레프트에 대해서 뭐 저 중요한 것만 뭐 이렇게 새해 첫 월간 레프트라 가지고 뭐 엄청 새롭거나 이런 건 없었어요. 그래가지고 뭐 이렇게 버그 픽스 뭐 AI 겨울방학이 끝난 후 그러니까 겨울 휴가 말하는 거죠. 휴가 끝난 다음에 이제 여러 가지 블라블라블라블라 다양한 버그를 해결했다고 합니다. 아무튼 작년 작업을 마무리하는 그런 느낌으로 AI 컨텐츠는 하고 있었고 AI 기능이나 기술 쪽은 NPC가 전투 중에 잘 작용 안 하는 그런 현상이 있었나 봐요. 근데 그런 것들 개선하고 NPC가 벽을 뚫고 조준하는 현상을 없앴다. 이런 것도 있었어? 그리고 이제 어듈트 발라카랑 에이펙스 발라카가 땅속 이동하는 메커니즘을 좀 바꿨다고 합니다. 뭐 이게 뭐 어떻게 바뀌었는지 모르겠네요. 아무튼 원래 땅 파고 이동했나? 아 이동하긴 했다. 성체는 이동했는데 근데 어듈트는 이동했는데 에이펙스가 이동했나? 모르겠다. 아무튼 그런 뭐 관련된 뭐 애니메이션이라든지 인식 범위 같은 걸 좀 수정을 했다고 합니다. 뭐 그런 것들이 있고요. 내가 이거는 직접적으로 겪어보지 않으면 어떤 느낌인지 모르겠어요. 그리고 이제 에이펙스 발라카가 행성을 자유롭게 이동할 수 있도록 이제 지하 이동을 가능하도록 개발하고 있다고 합니다. 근데 이게 뭐냐면 이거는 우리 그 방사능 에이펙스 발라카가 아니고요. 제가 보기에는 그거 같아요. 원래 오리지널 에이펙스 발라카를 출시하려고 했잖아요, CIG가. 그거 관련된 기술을 지금 만들고 있는 것 같아요. 준비를 하고 있는 것 같아요. 그래가지고 걔네들이 이제 행성 내부를 밑에 지하를 계속 이동할 수 있도록 그 관련된 AI를 만들고 있는 게 아닌가 싶습니다. 그 말로 이해가 돼요. 제가 보니까. 그래서 나중에 뭐 특정 에이펙스와 발라카가 나오는 행성들이나 위성들이 있겠죠. 뭐 거기 가서 우연치 않게 발견하고 이럴 수 있을 것 같습니다. 자, 아무튼 그리고 뭐 블라블라 뭐 어떤 거 모션 전반적인 움직임 개선 뭐 블라블라 스탑하우스 지원 기능은 뭐지 볼까? 이건 뭘까? 뭔지 모르겠다. 아직 넘어가자 일단. 뭔지 모르는 거는 잘 모르겠어. 그리고 NPC가 본인이 점프할 수 있는 높이랑 길을 가는 와중에 만나는 여러 가지 점프 상황에서 점프를 할 수 있는지 없는지 판단해서 그 길 찾기 기능을 사용하는 그런 AI들 뭐 이런 것들 개발하고 있다. 네, 예시를 4m 내비게이션 링크를 사용하는 경우 해당 높이까지 점프할 수 있는 NPC만 해당 링크를 사용하게 됩니다라고 번역되어 있는데, 그러니까 즉 말해서 4m 정도 멀리 뛰기를 하거나 해야 되는 상황에서 4m 뛰는 게 가능한 NPC만 그 길을 찾아서 점프를 한다라는 얘기, 당연한 얘기잖아요. AI가 당연히 그렇게 인식을 해야죠. 뭐 인간 같은 근데 이 말은 즉슨 NPC 중에 4m 멀리 뛰기를 할 수 있는 NPC가 있다는 얘기예요. 여러분 4m는커녕 한 2m 뛸 수 있어요? 2m는 되려나? 엄청 달려서 뛰면 2m는 되려나? 4m면 잠깐만, 우리 인간이 멀리 뛰기 기록이 어떻게 되지? 정확하게 모르겠네. 인간의 멀리 뛰기 재민이한테 물어보자. 인간의 평균 멀리 뛰기 길이는 어느 정도? 런닝 점프 기준으로 세계 기록이 8.95m네요. 4m 가능하구나. 네, 너무 그 제자리 멀리 뛰기도 2m가 가능하고. 그러면 선수 기준으로 7.5m에서 8.2m니까 4m 뛰는 거는 뭐 달리면서 뛰면 가능은 하겠네. 내가 평소에 평소에 너무 집안에 박혀서 게임만 해서 몰랐나 봅니다. 그래서 아무튼 그렇습니다. 그런 AI 만들고 있다는 거고요. 내가 생기는 라이프예요. 라이프 관련된 기술은 모션 캡처 컨텐츠를 하나 또 새롭게 작년 말에 녹화한 걸 완성했고, 이게 4.7 버전에 새로운 음성 팩과 함께 추가될 것이고, 제임스 해리먼이 추가 컨텐츠를 포함된. 제임스 해리먼이 누구지? 제임스 해리먼? 누구지? NPC 이름인가? 아니면 배우 이름인가? 누구지? 제임스 해리먼? 누굴까? 한번 찾아보자. 제임스 해리먼 배우인가? 그게 누구야? 아니지. 이거 제임스 해리먼. 게임 내 NPC. 얘가 제임스 해리먼이었구나. 생각도 못했네. 스타시티즌 이렇게. 얘가 이름이 제임스 해리먼, 게임 내 이름이 제임스 해리먼이었구나. 얘 관련된 새로운 녹화도 했다고 합니다. 4.7 버전 데뷔용. 저는 생각 없이 제라드 형이 찍은 거. 내가 넘어가고요. 캐릭터 아트가 관련된 거는 새로운 이제 우주복, 갱단 의상 완성하고 있다고 합니다. 네, 뭐 이런 것도 있고요. 자, 뭐 사람들이 이제 궁금해하는 부분이죠. 자, 우주선 함선 개발 관련돼서 영국에 있는 이제 함선 개발팀 총 5개의 이제 함선을 미공개 차량이라 번역해놨는데 차량이랑 탈 것이란 얘기예요. 5개 탈 것을 개발하고 있습니다. 첫 번째 탈 것은 최종 검토를 마쳤으며, 그리고 나머지는 최종 폴리싱을 그리고 하이팀들이 이 출시를 놔두고 최종 소지를 진행하고 있습니다. 해당 팀은 다른 차량을 공유하는 세시 영상 업데이트. 이게 아마 그 아르고몰 세비징이 아닌가 싶어요. 첫 번째가 최종 검토 끝났다는 얘기를 보니까 2월달에 출시할 수 있다는 얘기잖아요. 그래서 이게 아마 아르고몰이지 않을까 싶고요. 그리고 해머헤드 골드 스탠다드 과제를 완료했대요. 완료한 후 팀원 중 일부가 두 번째 신형 탈 것을 개발하는 기반에 착수했고, 그러니까 해머헤드 골드 스탠다드 완성한 팀 다 하고 나서 일부 팀원들이 두 번째 함선을 아예 개발하고 있고, 세 번째는 화이트 박스 심사를 통과했기 때문에 그레이 박스에 들어갔다. 요것도 이제 상반기에 나올 가능성이 높네요. 웬만해서는 그렇다는 얘기고, 그리고 네 번째 출시 함선은 1월에 이제 화이트 박스 게이트 검토를 받았는데 뭔가 문제가 발생해가지고 그 문제를 수정했고 1월 동안. 그래서 화이트 박스 통과해서 이제 그레이 박스에 들어갔다. 그레이 박스 지금 2개 들어간 거예요 지금. 그리고 또 영국 팀도 마지막 5번째가 화이트 박스 리뷰를 앞두고 있고요. 그래서 이거는 2월달에 리뷰 잘 통과하면 뭐 3월달쯤에 그레이 박스로 넘어가겠죠. 즉 말해서 지금 현재 개발하고 있는 5개 미공개 이제 함선인지 차인지 모르겠지만 아무튼 그것들은 현재 한 대 빼고 두 번째 거 빼고 첫 번째 건 아예 2월달 출시인 것 같고 이제 그리고 두 번째 거는 이제 겨우 컨셉 단계나 아니면 초기 개발 단계인 것 같고 그 나머지 제외한 세 번째, 네 번째, 다섯 번째는 화이트 박스를 이제 통과했거나 이제 거의 통과 직전의 상태. 그렇기 때문에 이것들은 그 함선의 규모에 따라서 화이트 박스라고 뭐 모든 함선이 크기에 따라서 개발 속도가 다를 수밖에 없으니까 개발 속도에 따라서는 이 세 개 다 이제 상반기에 나올 가능성이 높다. 그러니까 가령 들어서 인빅투스 때 나올 가능성이 매우 높은 이런 함선들이 아닌가 싶어요. 자, 그리고 이제 우리가 알고 있는 개발인데요. 이제 가탁 레일랜, 이제 화이트 박스 단계를 거쳐서 2월 달에 게이트 리뷰, 이제 그레이 박스로 넘어가는 리뷰를 앞두고 있다. 이제 이번 2월 달에 리뷰 넘어가면 3월 달에 이제 그레이 박스 넘어가고 뚜까뚜까 3, 4월 개발해서 5월 달에 이제 폴리싱하고 6월 달에 출시. 딱 그런 스케줄인 것 같네요. 6월 달 이제 외계인 주간 때, 에어덴 위크 때 출시하는 딱 그런 느낌으로 지금 개발 스케줄이 잡혀 있는 것 같습니다. 그레이케 UTV라는 새로운 신규 차량 하나 있죠. 개발 계속하고 있고요. 모션 캡처 촬영 관련 모션 캡처가 있나? 뭐 탈 때 뭐 모션 캡처라고 해야 되나? 근데 외부 요인으로 해서 2월로 연계됐지만 2월 초에 사전 검토 전해졌고 이것은 금방 나올 것 같아요. 그레이케 UTV도. 이것도 2월에 나머지 모션 캡처 필요한 부분들만 완성하고 나서 이제 마지막 검토하면 뭐 어떻게 되겠지. 자, 그리고 이제 미스크 헐비는 그레이 박스 검토를 통과했어요. 그러니까 LOD 제로. 이제 실질적으로 이제 색깔 입히고 폴리싱하고 광택 내고 뭐 이런 뭐 기능 버그 없는지 확인하고 이런 단계거든요. 네, 그런 이제 마무리 단계예요. 마지막 개발 단계여가지고 헐비도 보니까 지금 위에 언급된 것 중에서 지금 제일 개발 단계가 첫 번째랑 포함해서 제일 빠르고 있는 것 같아서 이것도 이제 이번 상반기 동안 뭐 정확히 언제 나올지 모르겠지만 나올 가능성이 매우 높은 것 같습니다. 그래서 혹시 다음 주에 공개하려나? 뭐 아무튼 다음 주 영상 한번 기대해 보고요. 헐비가 나올지 안 나올지 모르겠고. 자, 그리고 요거는요 아이언클레드 내부예요. 아이언클레드랑 아이언클레드 어설트 그 커맨드 모듈이 모듈형 키트를 적극적으로 활용해서 개발을 지속하고 있고요. 이제 함선 전반에 걸쳐서 대대적인 업데이트 진행할 수 있었고 다른 함선들에 비해서 훨씬 빠른 속도로 개발을 이해할 수 있었다. 그래서 이 커맨드 모듈 때문에 아이언클레드 출시가 느려지고 있었잖아요. 근데 그거 관련된 개발이 어느 정도 다 이제 끝났나봐요. 순항적으로는 다 됐나봐요. 그러니까 나머지 마무리하고 있다는 얘기죠. 근데 아이언클레드 이렇게 스닉픽을 많이 공개하는 거 봐서는 아이언클레드가 상당히 이제 출시를 준비 열심히 하고 있는 것 같습니다. 이거를 출시 시점을 어디로 발지 저도 모르겠네요. 이거 어떻게 보여주시나? 제가 빠르면 4.7 버전 사이클에 낼 것 같고, 아니면 이제 인빅투스인데, 네, 저의 느낌적인 느낌으로는 왠지 4.7 사이클에 나오지 않을까. 뭐, 그런 느낌이긴 해요. 근데 뭐, 일단은 두고 봅시다. 내부 실내 공간이고요. 약간 세련된 드레이크네요. 약간 티타필러처럼 지저분하지 않고. 그리고 여기는 그 커맨드 모듈 쪽인데 뒤에 엔진은 보이는데 앞에 그 원래 칵핏이 있을 때 칵핏이 없거든요. 아직 칵핏은 설치 안 한 커맨드 모듈 쪽 이제 모양이라고 생각하시면 됩니다. 네, 이렇게 표지판 거의 다 만들었다. 이제 뭐 이렇게 모델링을 대놓고 공개할 정도면 이제 뭐 마무리 뭐 열심히 이제 내부적으로 테스트하고 하고 있겠죠. 얘들은 제 예상은 3월 아니면 4월입니다. 제가 예상한 바로는. 네, 뭐 아무튼 그건 어떻게 될지 모르니까 두고 보고요. 자, 그리고 북미 팀인데 미국 함선 개발팀인데요. 아직 발표하지 않은 함선 개발 진행하고 있고요. 화이트박스를 지나갔다. 그래서 또 뭐 지난달에 다양한 변형 모델의 기본 디자인을 완성했습니다. 그리고 우리 공개하지 않은 함선에 대한 내부적 피드백을 받아서 내부 공간에 방과 방사기 창문을 더 추가하는 등의 일부 설계를 수정했다고 합니다. 무슨 함선인지 뭔지 모르니까 뭐 내부에 뭐 창문을 추가하든 문을 추가하든 우리가 알 바야? 아무튼 우리가 모르는 거 하나 개발하고 있고요. 그리고 또 북미 팀이 드레이크 크라켄 만들고 있나봐요. 크라켄 화이트박스 개발을 계속 진행했으며 게이트 리뷰가 2월 중순으로, 그러니까 2월 중순에 그레이박스 넘어가는 리뷰를 이제 통과 테스트를 진행할 예정이다 라고 적혀 있습니다. 그러면 3월 잘 통과하면 3월, 2월 중순, 2월 말부터 그레이박스로 개발을 하는 거고, 뚜까뚜까 열심히 캐피털이니까 시간이 좀 걸릴 테니까 뚜까뚜까 개발해서 올해 말에 출시하는 거지. 그래, 그런 거지. 그걸 알고 있어 나도. 네, 컨셉팀은 제작팀이 초기 컨셉 이후에 변경된 부분이나 초기 컨셉에서 다 충분히 다듬하지 않았던 부분을 개선하는데 도움을 주기 위해 추가 작업을 진행할 예정입니다. 화이트박스가 모든 함선의 모델링을 내부 러프하게 되게 만드는 거여가지고 기능이라든지 이런 거를 내부의 컨셉이 너무 오래된 부분에 대해서는 컨셉팀과 상의해가지고 좀 수정이 좀 있을 예정인가 봅니다. 그래서 그런 것들 또 같이 진행하고 있다라고 생각하시면 될 것 같아요. 이거 크라켄 사진이거든요. 얘들이 화이트박스 만들고 있는 거 일부 사진을 캡처했나봐요. 그 구조로 봤을 때 이 크라켄 전문가 카보의 구조로 봤을 때가 아게 앞쪽 오른쪽입니다. 전방 완전 선두 전방 오른쪽 여기 터렛 있잖아요 위에 여기 터렛 있고 여기 약간 여기 안테나 같은 거 앞쪽으로 튀어나오는 최전방 선두 쪽입니다. 중앙 선두 쪽인데 딱 봐도 그래서 그쪽 라인에 이렇게 모델링을 좀 이런 식으로 공개하고 있다. 참 CIG 이런 거 디테일은 정말 대단해요. 이런 철골물 같이 생긴 거부터 해가지고 여기가 색깔 혼자 색깔 약간 바른 거 안전 마크 이런 거 들어가고 남도 이런 거 만들고 있습니다. 진짜 나한테 크라켄 출시는 약간 거의 밈 같은 그런 거였는데 진짜 이제 출시하는 건가? 여러분 크라켄을 출시하면요 크라켄 오프닝은요 제가 99.9% 확신을 들고 말씀을 드릴 수 있는데요. 다른 이유가 있지 않는 이상 크라켄 트레일러 영상과 똑같이 만들 겁니다. 거의 똑같이 만들 거. 영상 찍는데 한 세월 걸리겠지만 하루 내내 오구 멤버 다 동원해가지고 똑같이 찍을 거야. 테이크 1, 테이크 2 해가지고 촬영은 1시간은 안 되죠. 제 말이니까 한 세월 하루 내내 그거를 그대로 이제 한번 찍어보려고 노력을 해보겠습니다. 그때 가서 한번 생각해 보도록 하고요. 이거 지역사회는 이제 뭐 유저와 커뮤니티 이런 거 뭐 관련된 이제 이야기고, 스타시티즌 계획표도 발표했고요. 우리나라에는 서울 5월달에 스타시티즌이 계획되어 있죠. 아마 저 샷학원에서 준비하셨을 텐데 그쪽에서. 근데 언젠가 우리도 한번 저랑 뭐 스폰서 좀 받아서 저 나름대로의 스타시티즌도 한번 계획해보면 좋을 거라고 생각하고 있습니다. 그거 사실 언젠가 해보자 막 한 번은 실제 계획안까지 한번 가보긴 했는데 결론적으로 그 정도로 한국 유저가 모일 만한 게임이 아니라서 언젠가 좀 인원이 많아지고 저도 유튜브가 10,000명 넘고 이랬을 때 한번 기념삼아 해보면 좋을 것 같긴 합니다. 그때가 좀 생각해보죠. 자, 아무튼 그렇고요. 그리고 미션 디자인, 이제 휴가를 마치고 온 미션 팀이 이제 공개된 컨텐츠 작업 계속하고 있고요. 산업 수집 미션 같은 거 새로 추가되었죠. 이번에 좀 많이 바뀌고 세비지 미션 같은 거. 그리고 뭐 공기정화 이벤트도 이제 뭐 만들었고, 그리고 앞으로의 계획으로는 시즈 오브 호리존 부활을 위해서 디자인 작업을 완료하고 있습니다. 첫 번째 인스턴싱 컨텐츠가 큰 전진을 이룰 수 있도록 했다고 합니다. 닉스를 위한 추가 임무도 개발 중이고, 배달 및 택배 미션도 다시 포함되고 있다라고 이야기하고 있습니다. 내러티브 팀, 이야기 팀은 이제 4.0 버전 맞춰가지고 여러 가지 뭐 신규 이벤트, 신규 임무, 캐릭터 관련된 이런 것들 팀 만들고 있고요. 뭐 모션 캡처 같은 것도 하고 있고요. 이게 이야기 팀이 단순히 작가가 아니고요. 그냥 게임 내 흐름에 맞춘 그 설계를 위한 모든 것들을 다 하고 있는 것 같은 느낌이에요. 그래가지고 좀 궁금합니다. 앞으로 어떤 식으로 스토리가 흘러갈지. 근데 좀 웃긴 게 스타시티즌이 정식 출시 게임이 아니잖아요. 근데 스토리 흐름에 맞춰가지고 게임을 만들고 있어요. 뭐 미션을 출시하고. 그 말은 즉슨 정식 출시도 아닌데 지금 게임 시작 안 한 분들은 그 해당 스토리 라인은 전혀 볼 수가 없다는 얘기잖아. 이거 좀 웃긴 이야기긴 해요. 자기네들 입으로는 정식 출시가 아닌데 그 정식 출시한 것처럼 스토리라인 흐름의 미션들이 발생하고 있으니 그래서 이게 좀 미묘하다. 제가 보기에 좀 미묘하다랄까? 약간 아니 이거는 결국 나중에 정식 출시했을 때는 다른 유저들은 그때 가서 시작한 유저들은 전혀 해볼 수 없는 컨텐츠 뭐 꼭 해볼 필요는 없지만 버그 같은 걸 일부러 겪을 필요는 없지만 근데 전혀 보지 못할 시간대에 기록이 돼버리겠는데? 라는 생각이 좀 들어요. 그러니까 레벨 스키에 곰팡이가 피었다. 이런 것들은 4.6 버전에 한정해서 생기는 이벤트일 테니까. 나중에 정식 출시하고 또 생길지는 모르겠지만. 근데 그때 좀 뭔가 일시적인 느낌의 이벤트들을 정식 출시는 아닌데 하고 있다. 그런 것들은 좀 모르겠어. 신기하다. 네, 그렇고, 자, 다음 온라인 기술도 뭐, DGS 관리자 클래스를 뭐 어쩌고저쩌고, 스트리밍 어쩌고저쩌고, 인스턴식 뭐 어쩌고저쩌고 유지 보수 어쩌고저쩌고 뭐 이거 그렇습니다. 그리고 이제 R&D 팀이에요. R&D 팀에서는 지상 프로토타입 여기서 지상이라는 그 행성 표면 관련된 프로토타입 뭐 개발하고 있나 봐요. 그러면 행성 표면을 렌더링하는 비용이 절감되고 지상 안개 모델링이 개선되고 그림자나 강우량 구름 같은 이제 그림자 관련된 기술도 개선될 거다. 라고 합니다. 이것도 약간 불칸 맞춰가지고 또 뭔가 하고 있나 보네요. 지상 표면들 같은 것도 최적화를 하고 있는 것 같습니다. 자, 요렇게 요 정도 외관 레프트였어요. 사실 내용 자체가 새로운 거는 거의 함선 쪽밖에 없었고요. 함선 쪽도 새롭다기는 아는 거 어느 정도 진행됐는지만 이야기한 거 정도였습니다. 그렇게 아직 뭐 메이저하게 사진 좀 몇 개 공개하고 아직 뭐 엄청나게 메이저하게 공개한 건 없는데 아니 우리가 몰랐더니 갑자기 튀어나온 그런 건 없는데 아무튼 일단은 잘 시작한 것 같아요. 생각보다 CIG가 2026년을 빠르게 업무를 시작했고 관련해가지고 뭐 현재로서는 2025년 이상으로 아주 중요한 한 해가 될 것 같습니다. 스쿼드론 42만 좀 어떻게 출시에 잘 나왔으면 좋겠네요. 그게 제일 중요하긴 한데 크라켄은 개발 시작했던 건 작년에 이미 공개를 했으니까요. 네, 그거에서 화이트박스 통과해서 이제 그레이프 통과할 예정이어서 이제 그레이박스로 들어갈 거다. 뭐 이런 것들은 중요한 이야기긴 하죠. 근데 뭐 당장 뭐 내일 출시한다 이건 아니니까. 파이오니어는 생각도 하실 필요 없고 헐비도 거의 완성 단계고, 네, 마무리 단계고 뭐 이런 것들은 중요한 것 같습니다. 일단 확실하게 나오는 거 올해. 일단 크라켄은 좀 이제 희망 회로를 좀 돌려야 되는 부분이 있으니까 좀. 혹시 올해 못 나올 수도 있으니까 일단 뺀다고 치면 우리가 확실히 올해 나오는 거 아는 거는 지금 이제 가탁 레일랜 그리고 헐비 그레이캣 UTV라는 차량 그리고 이제 다음 주에 공개할 셀비징 그 아르고산 셀비징 4개 정도입니다. 현재는 확실하게 아는 거예요. 4개. 아이언클레드 5개. 네, 확실하게 아는 거는 이제 5개 올해. 네, 근데 보니까 뭐 분위기상 거의 더 나올 것 같아요. 그래서 작년에도 24대인가 구현했어요. 그래가지고 올해도 더 많으면 많았지 적지는 않을 것 같아요. 그래가지고 그때 가서 한번 보도록 하겠습니다. 야, 거의 24대라고 얘기를 해보니까 생각해보면 한 달에 2대씩이잖아. 실제는 그렇게 구현 안 됐지만 보통 특정 주기를 맞춰서 우르르 나왔지만 와, 한 달에 2대씩 함선 리뷰라니 괜찮은데? 컨텐츠 괜찮은데? 아무튼 그렇습니다. 아무튼 오늘 월간 레프트 여기까지고요. 제가 이거 월간 레프트랑 라이브 했던 내용을 좀 섞어서 요약해가지고 영상을 만들까 말까를 내일 좀 고민을 해보고요. 대본을 한번 써보고 이런 거는 요약할 때는 대본을 써봐야지 내가 영상 만들 수 있거든요. 영상 각이다 싶으면 하나 만들어 보고 아니다 싶으면 뭐 패스하도록 하겠습니다. 그래서 그렇게 뭐 진행을 하도록 할게요. 여러분 이제 너무 늦었으니까요. 당연히 오늘 게임은 또 게임 안 할 거고요. 이제 안녕히 주무시고요. 내일 금요일 이제 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 금요일 맞아 잘 보내시고 빨리 주무셔가지고 내일 일정에 지장 없으시면 좋겠어요. 자, 편하게 주무십시오. 감사합니다. 오늘 봐주셔서 감사합니다. 가봐. 패코님 감사합니다. 짐님 감사합니다. 안녕히 주무십시오. 유튜브도 감사합니다.